All right, peace, everybody. Thank y'all for waiting. I got caught up in consultation and just kind of went overboard, but welcome to Aboriginal Global Media. Dr. Ali is in the building, and I'm going to handle this business tonight on the confusion of the statement about the slave trade starting in reverse. For a number of months now, there has been a little bit of academic jarring when it comes to the transatlantic slave trade, and when it comes to this whole model of, I guess what we can just label as the Aboriginal paradigm. And you have various people who are individually presenting information on various subjects. And so on this issue and the statement of the slave trade starting in reverse, you won't find anyone making that statement before me. You just won't find it. I put that in published literature in a book that I had first labeled as Reparations Equals War. And I wrote that book in 2004, which was now 14 years ago. And that book later became the book known as The Lost Aboriginal Heritage of the So-Called Negro African American. This book right here. All right. This book right here. Resolving a historical, political, and economic identity crisis. All right. So this is the book that any of the people who have been saying the slave trade occurred in reverse, as they are Aboriginals, they know where they got that information. They were studying this book, and there's no problem with that. You know, I do take issue with something that I see happening, and that is, if you read something from someone's book and it's a concept that you derive, it is absolutely nothing wrong with citing the source of your statement, right? By not citing the source of your statement, if the real person who made the statement comes forward and has copyright dates on their material, and you've only been saying that for the past year or two, or however, and it's been written in somebody's documents for over 14 years, then you got a problem. And so academic integrity is important. That's why you are supposed to cite your sources when you make a statement. If you make a discovery or a founding or pioneering statement, then it's on record through video or through a book. And so with all due respect to Dane Calloway, he knows where he got that concept of the slave trade happening in reverse. That's not his pioneering statement. I welcome the academic work that all of our young people do. I'm not a hater at all. And in fact, I put more people before people, some who didn't deserve it, to try to give people some shine. And I don't come on YouTube all the time doing videos. So if you see me doing videos, it's because it's an important subject. And this issue and subject is important because it's at the bedrock of our problem. When you have an oral tradition and your family can tell you who you are going long periods back in time, you're good. But if that gets broken, then you have to deal with historical reconstruction. And so most of my Pan-African or Afrocentric people are dealing with very frail historical reconstructions, right? They're just dealing with frail or historical reconstructions. In fact, and I have to call his name because he mentioned me yesterday, Dr. Reggie is either tonight or tomorrow doing a lecture with a House of Consciousness on the historical origins of the name Africa. Now let me show you what's happening. See, I am a student of information, the truth, and that which is absolute, which is beyond the truth, okay? And so if I listen to someone and they're making a point or whatever, and it's a good point, and let's say it might be something about something that I study, All right. Let's say somebody makes the statement, there's no archaeogenetic proof that people who have our type of genetics were here in history. If that were true, and it's not, if that were true, and we looked at all the available evidence, I would have to come to the conclusion that no, you know what, my ancestors weren't here. And I would absolutely have no problem with that, because it's going to lead me to what actually happened. But I mentioned Dr. Reggie because he and Sonetta did a live stream. And this is no shot on anybody. It's because it's academic. It's information. We kind of tangling through this debate on this Aboriginal global paradigm or out of Africa theory. Dr. Reggie is going to do a lecture on Scipio Africanus to prove that he is a mixed African and to give the origin of the word Africa. Stop it, Brother Reggie. Stop it. You and I know that by trying to make the old argument that the name comes from Scipio Africanus is a straw man argument. You know that. You know that. You know that Africa Novum, Africa Africanus Proconsularis, Africa Veda were all jurisdictions long before Scipio Africanus came. You know that. You know Emperor Hadrian was on coinage with the goddess Dea Africa on the coinage long before Scipio Africanus. So what you're doing is you're creating a straw man argument for the unlearned. You're going to debunk the straw man argument that you're raising to attempt to intentionally deceive the people. Listen, let's stop that, though. Let's stop that. You don't have to stop it. You're a grown man. But it makes no sense, okay? It makes no sense. And so all we're saying is, on the issue of the origin of the name Africa, it's a Berber word. It's a Berber word. All right? It's a Berber word. And in doing the Berber terminology, we know what the word means. It referred to troglodytes. Okay? And in referring to troglodytes, a cave people, it was referring to the caves or the cave people. All right? There were no Afar in that area, Africanus Proconsularis, and the Afar are called the Danakil, and they're from Djibouti, which is East Africa. And so that's a no-brainer. Jabari conceded, all right, that the name is not Africa. Others have conceded. See, I'm gonna show you how deep this is. When I was on Sonetta TV and Ankh and Reggie came on, Reggie conceded that we needed, this is on record now, look at this. He conceded that we needed to give it an indigenous name. This was just a few weeks ago, July 3rd or something like that, right? It is now July 23rd. Now he wants to go in a matter of 2 to 3 weeks. And go against what he said when we were on there, that Africa needs an indigenous name, and say that Africa is an indigenous name. I asked him on that show, like, is the word Africa in any, I asked Jabbar, is the word Africa in any indigenous text? They all said no. Most of the scholars of Medu Necha say the same thing. All right, there's a few that don't say that. All right, and so let's let that die. Now, as you see the title, the slave trade started in reverse. Dr. Ali versus the Jamaican leprechaun, Garfield. Now, I didn't come for antics tonight, and I'm going to jump right into this information. But Garfield has been a proposer that when he came on, that I wasn't using a primary resource. So I gave him the primary resource online, right there. I said, go to the Jesuit letters, look at the terminology that they use, Negroes de Guine, Negroes de Terra. That's the Jesuit letters. These are primary documents from Spanish missionaries and conquistadors, period. Available online, all right? So that's strike one. You didn't go to the primary source. You went to Jack Forbes, whom I read his material and cited his material as well, all right? Cited his material as a secondary resource to the primary resources, all right? So when I wrote this book, I cited both. Anybody who's read this book knows that, all right? And Garfield, you pirated my book. Garfield, you pirated my book, so you ought to be able to see. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you. All right. You don't have to make words in the chat. No leprechauns are allowed to speak tonight. All right. No Jamaican leprechauns are allowed to speak. And so, you know, if Garfield had any integrity, I would allow him to come on the show. He did a whole separate show after the Sinetta. He didn't invite me on, right? Not only did he do that, the reason why I'm poking at the little leprechaun, the Jamaican leprechaun, is because instead of sticking to academics, he decides to go take slander from Minister Inky and espouse it all over the internet. And so I already know that you're a bum and you're weak. And so I don't have time for that. You know what I mean? When you start talking about a man on a personal level, when it's supposed to be academic, you should be ready to fight, because it's no way when I just sat with you a few months ago on Sinetta's couch, when we were face to face as men, it was an intelligent discussion. We disagreed. It was cool. When you get on the internet, when I'm not there physically, you start telling people that I use medicine to kill people. You start saying all kind of weird stuff that you would never say to me to my face. Now, you're too small for me. I don't fight people under 5 feet, all right? Because you're under 5 feet, I will refuse to fight you unless you attack me. Then I'll whip your ass, all right? But because you're so small, all right, and green, all right, I'll just leave you to some midgets or something. Maybe I can hire some midgets to fight your little short ass, all right? So it's all good, all right? You don't have no integrity and you a chump. And so if you ever see me again at Sinetta or any of those other places, all right, I guarantee you, and we had it on live, that all the shit that you talked on your video or whatever, you would never say that shit to my face, all right? Because you'll get, I guess I have to elbow you or something. Just drop one of these joints right here on you because you're so short, all right? You're a child. All right, so let's jump right into this discussion. And I want to show you I want to show you what the material actually says and where it comes from. All right, so I'm going to show you my book. So you can see this book, and then we can go ahead straight through. Let me share this with you real quick. Give me a moment. All right, so this is the book that is from, not sure if y'all can see that yet. I have a little problem showing that. Oh, why? All right, so this is the book that is from right here. This is my book. All right, so this is my book right here, The Lost Aboriginal Heritage of the So-Called Negro African American. This is the book that I made the sightings for the slave trade happening in reverse. All right. It wasn't Brother Dane Calloway that came up with that concept or, used that concept first, even though he repeats it. He has his own views on it, and I respect, Brother Dane for having his views on things. He does his independent research, and he's a good researcher. And so, we should continue to learn from him based on what he is presenting. All right. But I want to do a few things tonight. The first thing is show you where I made the statement and how the statement was made, so that no one can. All right. No one can make up anything about what I'm saying. All right. And I'm going to read all three aspects that I presented. All right. I'm going to show you where the chapter is in my book, just in case any of you have it. All right. So we're going to page 47 in my book. And I was talking about this book on Sinetta, and I cited my book. My book will be considered a second-hand resource, citing primary resources and other secondary resources, right? That's what it would be considered. So somebody on the live stream said they asked him for a source, and he presented his book. I mean, I want you to understand, and everybody is not this unintelligent. If a person writes a book, if they're an author, in this sense, a book on historical reconstruction, then they cite inside of their book their sources. I have in this book, all right, just for the edification of those who purchased the book, either hard copy or not, I have, starting on page 196, all right, starting on page 196, I go all the way to page 203, all right, citing, all right, all 8 pages of all of the text that I used to write this book. That's 8 pages of bibliography. When you write a book, that's what you do. You cite everything inside of it. And anybody who read my books will see all of these citings from the Jesuit letters. All right. And so, that's simple. So let me share this with you, so we can go to take a look at this. All right. So let's go to page, and I'll show you. Let's go. Let's show you. Here you go, right here, starting on page 196. All right. This is my bibliography, and I go on and on and on and on and on these points. All right. All the places, all the people, all the things that I use, the DeSoto Chronicles, all right, all of this, all right. All right, this is a really good book. Just the sidebar, this book right here, The Berbers in America by Gaston Edward Jules Cavot, all right. I have this book, and it's in French, and I've had someone to help me translate it. But this book is good also because it's an anthropological study, a really big one, done on the names of Aboriginal American tribes and Berber tribes and the linguistic connection between the two. All right. Some of the books are not even in English that you need to do research on. But let me go to page 46. All right. Let me go to page 46. All right. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. All right. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. All right. And as you can see, the book is footnoted. It's there we go. All right. Here we go. All right. So here we go. A book that's 10 years old. The original book, 14 years old. All right. And here's the part right here on page 47. The so-called transatlantic slave trade in reverse. It started in Africa, America, not Africa. People have been purchasing this book for me for years, so they know this is not new. It's not a new edition. It's not a new update. This has been here for years. So for them to take the context of the statement and say the slave trade happened in reverse, what they're trying to do is make us look nonsensical. Meaning they're trying to say, we are saying that the transatlantic slave trade was only from America taking slaves back to Europe and Africa and all of that. And it's nothing, there's no part of the slave trade. They're trying to say that we're trying to say this, that there's no part of the slave trade that occurred from West Africa into the islands and America. Who's that stupid? This is why when you critique someone, read their material. But instead you want to pirate it, okay? And so let me show you the three. All right. Let me show you the three chapters of it. All right. Here we go. Chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. All right. And so all right. Let me go back a little bit so I can read all this. All right. This book was written by Leo Weiner, Africa and the Discovery of America. It's an older book. All right. And he says, long before the Incas, Aztecs, and Christopher Columbus, the Aboriginals of America and the Moors of the East, particularly Africa, Senegambia region, that region, had been using favorable sea currents and small boats to travel back and forth across the Atlantic. One of the reasons that Columbus was sent on his return voyage was, quote, a report of the Indians from Hispaniola, who said that there had come to Hispaniola from the south and the southeast a black people who have the tops of their spears made of a metal which they call guinea. Now, let me show you how. Give me a second. Let me show you how uninformed these people are, right? Let me show you how uninformed these people are, right? Give me a second. I got to pull this up because this is going to blow the whole, thing up. Let me find this joint. Hold on 1 second. I gotta give you this one. This one right here is going to blow it through the. I think this is it right here. Here we go. All right. So now let me show you. Let me show you this. Please let me show you this. Give me a moment. I'm just pulling something up so I can show you an actual glyph depiction of these golden tip spears. And this particular scene that I'm about to show you is a part of another book that I want to discuss where we have these depictions. All right, so give me a moment. Let me come off the book real quick and go to this document. That discussion from the Indians, all right, talking about black people from the southeast who were had these gold tip spears. This is in the She glyph system. Check this out. Let me show you. This is the proof. This is how you do it. What you do is you take an eyewitness report, and then if there's any epigraphy in the area, you look at the time period that epigraphy would have been developed, and then you cross compare it to the statement. And what do you get? You get this right here. All right. Here you have the discussion of the trading of these spears. Okay. And although I won't go over all of what this is because this is indigenous iconography. All right. But there's two things here that I want to save because this book is going to get released. And when I release the book, I don't want to give it up before I release it. And it goes to print in about 3 weeks. But this is important. These spear tips right here that are displayed in this glyph, and this is a whole wall. This is just a section of the wall. Are depicting a lot. Okay? It's depicting a lot. And it's coordinated to that last statement that I just made. All right? So I think a big problem between those of us who study global Black civilizations and Aboriginal civilizations, those as opposed to those of us who are not learned, that we don't know. We don't know that we don't know anything about Aboriginal American civilizations. You just don't know. You need to take an anthropology class or some other type of thing. So let's go back to the book so I can read these 3 chapters so I can show you what I meant when I said it happened in reverse. Go back. All right, let me pull this back up. Give me a moment. All right. All right. So here we go. Let's go. This is what I talked about. All right. The phases of the transatlantic slave trade. Chapter 1 is kidnapping and enslaving of Aboriginal Americans, mostly classified as Negroes. These so-called Negroes, which means black-skinned people, were taken from the Americas back to Europe, especially Spain. That's chapter 1. All right. Chapter 2 is the war that ensued, which is somewhat conceptually explained in the book Christian Slaves, Muslim Masters by Robert C. Davis. The Inquisition by the church caused a severe reaction, and I stress reaction, by black Muslims and pale Arabs. After Spain had experienced over 700 years of flowering culture and peace, where Muslims, Christians, Jews, etc. found high culture, civilization, and the spark for the European Renaissance, the Catholic Church, along with the Anglican Church, both state institutions, decided to attack both the Moors, the West African people in Morocco, Mauritania, Northern Africa, where Tunisia and Algiers is, and it spread all the way down into what we know as Mali and Songhai and Timbuktu and all of those areas. All right. I'm using the term Moors generically. All right. Even though they weren't Moors, that was a moniker that was given to them. Moors was a term used for the African Muslim. All right. And then it spread and started leaking over into other people. Okay. So these West Africans, or indigenous West Africans, I should say, and Aboriginals in the Americas. This started a virtual war in the Atlantic coastal areas of North, Central, South America, and the islands. That's also took place in West and Northwest Africa. During this period of 300 years of European expansion into the New World, into Africa, the fall of Aboriginal American empires gradually happened. It took all the way up into the 1800s for this to happen. That's why I stress 300 years. And states and the Moorish Empire in West Africa came to an end. This is what happened between these 1400 and 1800 period. All right. We had the Barbary Wars at the last end of it, and at the beginning of it, you have the Portuguese, and then you have Columbus, and you have explorers beginning to explore. They didn't set a good footing in the Americas until the 1700s and 1800s. It took them a very long time, centuries, to get to a certain point. And the last chapter of the slave trade is the collapse of certain empires of the Americas and West Africa that gave rise to the most familiar aspect of the slave trade from Central and West Africa. All right. So this is how I laid out my chronology. All right. That's how I laid out my chronology. All right. All right. And so that is what I said. And so I just don't want anybody to take away from what I published 14 years ago. All right. And what I updated to the title of the current book 10 years ago. All right. That's what I said. I did not say the whole trade happened in reverse. I said it started in reverse. And that needs to be highlighted, because if it's not highlighted, then someone can come and make a straw man argument like the leprechaun did. All right. When the leprechaun came and he made his statements, he didn't tell y'all the whole story. All right. So let's go to some of these sightings. All right. Let's go to some of these sightings. Give me one moment, because I'm pulling up slides too, so I want to use the slides to help me do this. All right. Give me 1 second. All right. Give me 1 second so I can pull these up. All right, so we're going to page 58. Let's see if we can make this up. Page 58, 58, 58. All right, then let's go here. All right. All right, so this is a statement from Carter G. Woodson. All right, and it's from, you see the source right here, The Relations of Negroes and Indians in Massachusetts, Journal of History, Volume 5. And what Carter G. Woodson said is, one of the longest unwritten chapters of the history of the United States is that treating of the relations of the Negroes and the Indians. All right. This is Carter G. Woodson's statement right here in this particular journal, Journal of the Negro. So every time I tell you something, I'm going to cite the source so that it won't be. Now, why is Carter G. Woodson making that statement? What relations between the Indians and the Negroes? All right. What relations is he talking about? All right. What relations is he talking about? Let's go. All right. So this is from the De Soto Chronicles, the expedition of Hernando de Soto to North America. All right. Now I'm quoting him directly. Now Hernando de Soto is a conquistador. He's from Spain. Spain had Africans in Spain for 7, 8 centuries. All right. Look at what he said. All right. Look at what he said. Look at what he said. The best example comes from the expeditions of Hernando de Soto, a Spanish conquistador who traveled the southeastern areas of what is now Florida, Alabama, and Mississippi. We learn from de Soto the description of these alleged Indians. All right. Look at what he said. In which is related what happened to the commander Hernando de Soto in his intercourse with the chief of Tuscaloosa. All right. Tuscaloosa, Alabama is named after an indigenous chief who was such a tall man that he seemed a giant. All right, so now we're going into phenotypes. We got someone in the southeastern part of the United States, and he's describing it, okay? Sunday, October 10th, 1540, the governor entered the village of Tuscaloosa, which is called Atahachi, a recent village. And the chief was on a kind of balcony, right? On a mound at one side of the square. Now they're dealing with culture. Where does this practice come from of carrying someone on these particular types of balconies? It spread all the way to, and I'm going to highlight it, it spread all the way to the northern part of North America, all right? Well, the eastern seaboard. And I want to find this hieroglyphic because I want to show the hieroglyphic when I show this. I think it's important. I think it's instructional. Give me a moment. I know I'm going to keep reading this though, but I want to show this hieroglyphic. sign, which is Olmec, right? And I want you to look at the name of it. And when you see the name of it, it's gonna connect to this point I'm about to make about this practice of carrying the chief on this type of thing that he's being carried on. Give me 1 second. All right, where is this at? There we go. This is it. I think it's on page 27. All right, so let me keep reading. His head covered by a kind of coif, like the almazal, so that his headdress was like a Moor's. Now, this is a Spanish person talking about the Aboriginal in the location that we now know as Alabama, wearing the attire, being carried on the balcony type of balcony type of seat, and he's describing it like he saw things that he's seen in Spain. He also wore a pelo and a mantle of feathers, down to his feet. All right, a mantle of feathers. So we were on the other day, and they said, "Oh, this is a war bonnet. This is a war bonnet." All right. A war bonnet. It's not a war bonnet, homie. I'm going to show you why they wore this mantle of feathers and what it had to do with astronomy. It had nothing to do with anything else but astronomy. It is Kukulkan Quetzalcoatl. All right. As a matter of fact, let's not waste no time. I got to go to it. 188 and 189. I'm going to come back to this. All right. 188 and 189. Right now I'm on page what? 57. I come back to this. I got to show it to you as I'm going. All right. 188 and 189. He's wearing, in the 1500s, he's wearing this right here. This is what he's wearing. Right here. This is what he's wearing. This mantle of feathers. All right. This is Kukulkan. All right. You see the feathers are coming out of the back. You can literally see these feathers. All right. And I'll show them in real time, like I showed from the in the lecture. Look at this right here. The only reason that the Ahau wore feathers is because it represented 7 Macau. 7 Macau was depicted as a bird. And it's called 7 because it deals with the 7 pole stars. The Quetzalcoatl or Kukulkan was called the feathered serpent. Yeah, I know I'm making it up, right? I know I'm making it up. I'm going to, hey, listen, anybody who wants to debate me on this, on why the chief in the Shi system wore feathers, I got primary resources. I'll blow your ass out of the box. I'm glad you think I'm making it up. Because I know you don't know nothing about Aboriginal anthropology. All right. 7 Macau is the reason why the chief wore feathers. All right. And the chief, or the Ahau, wore these feathers because it represented the constellation Draco, which they saw as a constellation that never set, which is why they depicted it with feathers as a bird and a serpent. The constellation is a serpent, all right? Draco, the serpent, and Macau is the bird hovering above. And this is the basis of the tune and the back tune system of calendar count, all right? This is the basis of that system. And so if you do not know the astronomical and calendar-based system of the Shi, who are being misnamed Olmec Maya, if you don't know that, you don't know why they're wearing what they're wearing. But that tradition of the Ahau wearing that came all the way to North America. The reason why you have a state called Ohio is because it's named after Ohio. Literally. All of these names. I just showed you Tuscaloosa, Alabama is named after this chief. These terms and these names follow that. So let's go further. I'm not done. I'm going to come back to my point. But I had to make that point because as I'm reading what Hernando de Soto was seeing physically in the southeastern United States, I'm going to compare. Now, this is all the way up in Alabama. I'm going to compare it to the classical civilizations in the lower part of North America. All right, in the lower part of North America, which we're calling Mexico now. All right, and I'm going to go back because I'm coming to the Jesuit letters and why I did the slave trade thing. But I'm coming around so I can show you culture each time when people try to debunk it. Here we go. This image right here, which looks like the side of an Olmec head. Okay. The first of these, the head is called what? Powhatan. Powhatan. Right here, this glyph. All right. Powhatan is two words, power and tune. Tune is the calendar. Power means 4. And the Powhatan, see if I can show it. I don't have the glyph of it. All right. The guy holding up the stones. Do I have that one? No, I don't have it. All right. So let's go back. This glyph right here, which is a classical Mayan she glyph. This glyph right here, Powhatan is the name of the so-called Virginia Indians that the British first met when they came into Virginia. What was his name? Chief Powhatan. How do you think that word descended all the way to Virginia, bruh? How do you think that word descended all the way to Virginia, this word? It comes from she vocabulary. All right? It comes from she vocabulary. And so let's go back. Let's go back, page 57, and finish reading what Hernando de Soto saw. Let's keep going. Go back. Don't get jealous because you don't have the mentality that's necessary, or the intellectual fortitude that's necessary to even write a book like this. All right. So let's keep going. All right. So he had mantle of feathers to his feet, very imposing. He was seated on some high cushions, and many of the principal men amongst his Indians were with him. He was tall as that of Tony. All right. Of the emperor, our Lord's guard, and well proportioned, a fine and comely figure of a man. He had a son, a young man, as tall as himself, but more slender. Before this chief, there stood always an Indian of graceful mien holding a parasol. Here we go. That's culture again. This is not Native American culture as you know it today. These people do not do this. This particular culture came from somewhere. All right. On the handle, something like a round and very large fly fan with a look at this, with a what? A cross similar to that of the Knights of the Order of St. John of Rhodes. What are they doing with that cross? Silly, the cross is Powhatan. It represents the solstices. All right. The Powhatan was not the name of a tribe. It was the name of the annual celebrations that took place at the equinoxes and solstices, which is, again, the basis of the Tune calendar. I can walk you through this easily. All right. In the middle of a black field, and the cross was white. These are Aboriginal Americans with the symbol. With the first Europeans coming to see them, they already had the symbol. How did they get it? And although the governor entered the plaza and alighted from his horse and went up to him, he did not rise, but remained passive in perfect composure and as if he had been a king. All right. So you got that source. All right. The De Soto Chronicles are a primary source. All right. They are a primary source on the the history of these natives. All right. So check this out. Let's keep going. Look at this. This is a painting from Francis Barlow. I'm coming to the Jesuit letters in a minute. All right. This is supposed to be an Indian warrior entering his wigwam with a scout from Thomas Embury. Travels through the interior parts of America. Barlow died in 1704, which means this was a depiction from the 1600s. Notice the woolly head and the physique and the skin color to what today would be a so-called Negro. He got a woolly afro. Now, in order to get this type of hair, you can only get this type of hair from the from the genes, the RNA, transcribing chromatin to produce and translate proteins that can make that type of hair. So if you're saying the eyeball test is not cool enough, when Francis Barlow produced this photo, and this is a person who was a artist during that time period. Okay, so he's given the phenotype of these particular people. Y'all can run around all y'all want and say, oh, well, you can't use the eyeball test. If the eyeball test gives you somebody with an afro, right? And no Eurasians can make an afro. Our logical deduction is that that there were Negroes already here in the Western Hemisphere, so-called Negroes. All right. I don't want to call my brothers and sisters and ancestors Negroes, but I'm using the terms that they were using at the time. All right. So this is, again, phenotype. Let's go back. I'm going to keep showing you this over and over and over again. And every time I show you something, I'm going to give you the source. I'm going to make you cringe. John Carter Brown Archives on Early Native Americans. Depicted here, what? Woolly-headed Native Americans. These Aboriginals came into contact with who? This is in Delaware and the Northeast. They came in contact with the Swedes and the Dutch. The Swedes and the Dutch depicted these natives. Look at this. Bro. What do I need to do? What do I need to do? What do I need to do? Homie got an afro. This is art from the time. All right? This is art from the time. Why would the artist depict him with this woolly hair, right? When we know ain't no Eurasians making a woolly hair like that. And what they doing all the way up in Delaware, homie? Where did they come from? You telling me some woolly haired people came from across the Bering Strait down into Delaware? Bruh. You telling me some woolly haired people rode over from Polynesia and Melanesia and walked all the way to Delaware? All right, homie. Y'all can have that one. So this is just phenotype. All right. We know what chromosome has to be transcribed and then to be translated into tissues to make this kind of hair. All right. Ain't no R groups making this type of hair. Okay. Except some admixture groups, possibly, but they're all in the Congo. But these other R groups are from Eurasia. Or haplogroups. All right. Or Q haplogroups. They're not doing it, bro. All right, so let's keep it moving. Y'all too slow anyway. Let's keep it moving. So let's go to let's go to, I ain't even gonna go through this yet. That'll blow your head. Check this out. This is just more phenotype stuff, all right? All right, I got this book right here by Ann Axtell Morris, extracted from the Smithsonian. All right. And you see the black natives arresting these foreigners. These are the Eurasians. These are the Aboriginals. All right. Look at them. Aboriginals. This is in the Temple of the Warriors in Chichen Itza. How come you not taught this? Look at this. All right. And look at these Eurasians. Let me break something down to you real quick. I'm going to zoom in too. Let me break something down to you. You see these stripes right here? This stripe is it's from a certain plant, and it's a paint. And we put this on the prisoners. You know from the old Western movies, when somebody goes to jail, they put the stripes on them, right? This this tradition came from what the Aboriginals in North America used to do to the Eurasians. Y'all ain't up on this stuff, man. Y'all too slow. I'm gonna keep it moving. Check this out. What are these pale people doing on the walls in Chichen Itza thousands of years ago in Mexico? Look at it. Oh, the first whites came. Bro, y'all Pan-Africans need to just have a seat and just let us teach y'all. I don't even know what else to say to y'all. Like, y'all just need to let us teach y'all. Right? This is now they say, oh, he never uses primary sources, right? Yo, if this is not primary, all right? If this is not primary, what is primary? What is primary? If this is not primary, what's primary, homie? This is white people over here. So now look, your geneticists have to account for these haplogroups showing up in Mexico. Look at these ropes, homie. These are prisoners. Look at the rope. It's the prisoners. All right, let's keep it moving. Y'all just slow. The Afrocentric slow. It's all right. Let's keep it moving. I'm gonna go to my statement on this Jesuit letters, though. That's what I was coming back to. All right. On these Jesuit letters. Y'all ain't gonna get away. All right. Give me a moment. Boom, boom. All right. I think I'm coming close to it. I'm gonna come back to this one right here. This is epigraphy. They say, oh, ain't no Malians came to know America. And then they try to do a whole show to disprove that West African Muslims came to America. All right. I'll be back. I'll be back to this one. All right. So look. Right here. It's right here for you. All right. All right, so let's see. Here we go. When Africans are referred to in the Jesuit letters, when Africans are referred to in the Jesuit letters, they are always called Negroes de Guiana or Blacks of Guinea. And that's the terminology that was used at the time to distinguish them from Negroes de Terra or Blacks of the Americas. All right. And here we go. A very interesting letter is one prepared by Dos Meninos do Colegio de Jesus de Bea. That is, by young Americans studying in the school. Diogo Capanamba, Heribera, Monjeta, and Cantina. Although probably edited by a Jesuit, this may represent the first letter written by Americans in a European language from Brazil. In it, they refer to an American leader, El Grillo, as a Negro and to other natives as Negroes. We find, for example, quote, El Grillo, who is a Negro, very well known and feared among them, and that El Grillo es Negro muy grave. El Grillo was at the same time an Indi pagan and a friend of the Portuguese. All right. And so throughout the Jesuit letters and other secondhand sources, and yes, Jack Forbes quotes these, right? Throughout them, you get depictions of Negroes de Terra versus Negroes de Guan. All right. Let me keep going, so y'all don't get lost. Let me keep going. All right, let me keep going. First, let me break something down to you real quick. There is no such thing as a people who are called Mayans. All right, so these are Mohawk right here in North America. Should I just break that down too? I'll break it down real quick. The Dutch artist Jan Barrelis painted these paintings of the so-called Mohawk chiefs who visited London in 1710. The paintings were housed in the Kensington Palace and was given as a name to an area in Philadelphia, and is later named after this palace. All right, look at them right here. This is Phenotype. All right, Cherokees, meeting with them. All right, whole bunch. But let me go to page 92. Should I do this? Should I do this? All right. This is a statue in Philadelphia, but you see he's standing on a turtle. All right. This tradition comes from the Olmec Maya, right here, standing on the turtle. Turtle Island. This is where you get the concept of Turtle Island from. All right. And so throughout my text, I show the chiefs standing on the turtle. Should I read this? Oh, yeah, let me read this. This is just military records. All right. I'm coming to page 92, though. All right. So this is just sources, statements from General Thomas Jesuit. And this is about the Seminole Wars. This, you may be assured, is a Negro, not an Indian war. And if it be not speedily put down, the South will feel its effects on their slave population before the end of next season. If the war be carried on, it must necessarily be one of extermination. We have had no former period of our history had to contend with so formidable an enemy. No Seminole proves false to his country, nor has a single instance ever occurred of a first-rate warrior having surrendered. Throughout my operations, I have found the Negroes the most active and determined warriors. And during the conferences with the Indian chiefs, I ascertained they exercise an almost controlling influence over them. The Negroes rule the Indians. This is amongst the Seminoles. War records. Just a nice read for you to get that. Let me go to page 92 because I want to show you something. Should I read that? Where is he? No, I ain't gonna read that. All right, let me go. 92. Because I'm gonna cover the slavery thing too. All right, there we go. All right, real quick. So y'all don't get this confused. The origin of the name Maya in Spanish history can be traced to Bartolome Colon, or Columbus's fourth voyage. There was an encounter and report of a large Maya trade boat in the Bay of Honduras. Speaks of a canoe as coming from a certain province called Mayam, all right, or the Yucatan, all right. Martyr, in reporting the same encounter, stated that Columbus, upon inquiring about the mainland, was told this vast region is divided into two parts, one called Taya and the other called Maya. Maya is the northern part. So the term Maya is a direction. It has nothing to do with a people. That's just for your edification. The Maya are she. That's their name right there. That's what's written in the glyphs. All right. So one of the things that people are telling me is, oh, Ali, there is no way that these people are in any way related to African Americans. All right. Despite the phenotypes here, cranial elongation, the type of hair, all of that, they're saying, oh no, there's no way that these people are related. So let me bust that up. I have to bust that up today. All right. So the first issue is the genetics and the craniology. All right. The genetics and the craniology. And see, this is a part of the suppression of information, but it's already been written down, so you can't unwrite it. All right. According to Dr. Clyde Winters, the first decipherer of the She, Wierzinski, when attempting to do cranial analysis at Mesoamerican sites, classified skulls as Negroid and a brown race. All right. According to Winters, the other classifications were given to hide the fact that 53% of the skulls found were Negroid. All right. The other 7% were of Pacific Island ancestry. All right. Now, this is really important, because now I'm about to blow your head up. There have only been 7 archaeogenetic studies, 8 archaeogenetic studies on Aboriginal American populations. That's 8 studies, 8 archaeogenetic studies that are acceptable. That's 8 studies for millions of people. And so when you run these tests on just a few thousand people over a history that's millions of people, of course, you don't have a good idea of the genetic makeup of the population. You can. But despite that fact, let's go in. Despite that fact, you still have, I just showed admixture basically, or groups who are in the same region. Now, all right, let me show you this. This is a haplogroup study. All right. And you can see American, European, African, Indian, Asian. And these are all the groups. All right. This is mitochondria. All right. And so what I want you to pay close attention to is ASW and ACB. All right. American Southwest. All right. Remember, I'm not even going to say remember. This American Southwest right here is connected to Bonham Peck by way of the coloring of the azurite on the glyphs. This was a she trade link, because the azurite is buried in Arizona and New Mexico, and they would the deposits are here. They would ship it down to Bonham Peck to make the blue color, so that they could do the epigraphy for the writing. Now, we know that when you start dealing with African mitochondrial groups, all right, LO, L1, L2, L3, L4, all right, here you go. I'm going to show you. LO, L1, L2, L3, L4, L5, all right, and you have that African group, right? So in Eurasia, when you have the group, all right, the population group and the population group here. And it's going to show you where they are and where there's admixture, all right? And so generally, the L groups are considered African, right? They're certainly not East Asian. They're certainly not European, all right? And they're certainly not Indian. But when you go to admixed American right here, what do you see? You start seeing these high incidence of admixture of American Indian and African. This is why it's on this column, all right? And it's giving you the counts. But when you go to the primary American markers that they look for A, B, C, and D, all right? And so when you look at it from the A, B, C, and D, all right, what do you see? East Asian and African, all right? And so what I'm showing you here is the rate of admixture of African mitochondrial DNA with what we're calling American Indian DNA, admixture American. And then the location is here, all right? You see ASW, all right? So now what I want to do is I want to show you why that there's this high admixture in this area. So for all the people who are saying, oh, there's no African mitochondrial DNA anywhere in the ancient Americas with no archaeogenetic studies to show it. All right, I'm showing you the map, and I'll give the sources out. Just give me a minute. All right, give me a minute. Where is this picture at? I'll find it. Give me a moment. I want to show you this picture of these trade routes, so you can understand exactly exactly what I'm showing you. Give me a moment. Pull this up. I think I gotta pull this from another page because I don't have this PDF on this computer. All right. Give me a moment. What I'm pulling up is the migratory proof that solidifies that admixture claim in that genetic study. I just need the photo. I have to go to another source to get this photo. Give me a moment. Where is it here? Got so many photos here. Give me a minute. All right, that's one, and I got one more to get. Give me a moment. Give me a moment. I'm pulling them up. I want to show you these migratory routes, and this is really, really important to the point, so I wouldn't want to skip over it. All right, back. Should be in another folder. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? You hate when you don't have it in the right place. Where is it? Where is it? But don't have this here. I want to look for this in another folder. Yeah, I will have to. Where is this? Yeah, I don't see that one there. All right, see if I can find it in this book. Basically, what I'm showing you is a photo of the Azurite source and the Bonham Pet trade route to get it, to show you that the Shi, so-called Olmec Mayan, were traveling all the way up to the American Southwest. And that's important also to this next point that I want to make about these Kufic glyphs that were found in the same area. Where are you? All right, I'm going to skip over this because I don't want to belabor the point. I think I can find this somewhere else. Where can I find it at? All right, I think this might be it right here. All right, I got one more to get. Got one more to get, and then I can show you all this. One more to get, and then I can show you. Oh, it's moving so slow. Why are you moving this slow? Next time I'll know to put this in a different file. Hold on. Yeah, I know, right? Y'all need to get get them to answer some of these questions y'all asking, because they can't explain some of these myths that they're dealing with. They can't explain it. All right. Just let me find this photo. 1 second. So slow. I waited now, so I might as well just look through all of them. Just give me a moment. Slow, but it's coming. It's always the one you want, right? That's like stuck somewhere. All right, so I don't want to wait till this stuff loads. Like this is taking extreme long time. But if I need to produce that photo later, I can produce it. It's just a graph showing the actual trade routes. I'm gonna just go ahead on past that. We don't need it. All right. So going back, let's go back a little bit to this issue of sources. All right. So the issue, the simple question is, were there Negroes, so-called Negroes, right, in the Western Hemisphere? Can we look at it through haplogroups? Yes, I just did that. Can we look at it through phenotype, which leads to genotype? Yes, I just did that. John Carter Brown, Hernando de Soto. We could just go through all of these ancient and old things, and we come to a composite group of data. Genetically, we come to the fact that you can find haplogroups for our people in the Western Hemisphere, and you can find admixture of the two. That's important. All right. And we need there's a need to do more studies because there's only been 8 archaeogenetic studies, and it's because of the complexity of archaeogenetic studies, and it's because of what? The political science. Where do they have to? What techniques are they using, and who is the progenitor of the techniques that are being used? The Max Planck Institute, right? Now, this institute is it's the same institute that I was getting on Jabari about, that or in the same vicinity, that I was talking about Franz Boas. All right, this joint is in Germany. All right, ruled by some rich German Jews. All right, so let me where am I? Let me pull up a few more files. All right, and then we good. All right. Just so you could understand that these things are real, I want to show you these guys. Give me a moment. And I'll come and answer some questions. You know what I mean? I don't have a problem with that. I know some people want some stuff answered. And then I'm going to go to what I am going to go to is this whole issue of Aboriginal American culture and calendars. I think that's really, really, really important. I'm not going to let y'all get away with that one. Not at all. I just got to sign in. All right. So I can see these joints. All right. And I want to read something too about this early American stuff. I gotta read this. Let me read this. This is important. All right. And let me get my sources on these Quetzalcoatl photos. so that they don't say, oh, he wasn't using primary documentation. This is from Codex Telluriano Remensis. That's the source. All right. You see above his head, Quetzalcoatl. All right. You will see that he's always depicted as a black man. Period. There's just no way around this. You just can't get. You can get mad if you want. Then they had the nerve in depicting him, right, because of this particular era, to show a black man, right, to show a black man. Look at this, man. You can't get around this, right? To show a black man with a Eurasian. He's holding a Eurasian by the forelock. This is Neanderthal, Denisovan type hair structure. I mean, what more do y'all want to see, homie? Like, we show y'all the and this is from primary documents. Like, I have these books, bro. All right. I have these materials. All right. And so I want to read something else though. That's not what I came to here necessarily to do. I want to read this. All right. Now, let's see. Here we go. This is what I want to deal with. All right. So I'll start here. The friendliest, and this is about Aboriginal Americans capturing Europeans early, making them pay tribute, all of that. Because we got this whole history of slavery wrong, bro. Like you got the Kumbaya version. Our people do not know what was happening. They think white people just came over here and body slammed everybody, and then it was cool. They had everything. It was not like that, homie. And I want to show you it wasn't like that. Now, this is from the same group that's called the Powhatan. The Powhatan were later renamed Delaware after a British general who conquered the Powhatan. Powhatan was the she glyph that I showed you the name. All right, that wasn't even their real name. All right, but I'm showing you this to show you lineage, because this particular chief of the Powhatan, under the mask of the Delaware, is the grandson of Chief Tammany, who I showed you standing on that turtle. Look at what was happening though. The Friendly Association, which is the Quakers, was first promoted in the 11th month, 1756, and continued to the 19th of the 4th month, 1763, during which time committees were annually elected by the subscribers, who met on the 19th of the 4th month in each year to receive from the said committee an account of their transactions and expenditure of the money raised, which amounted to 4,004 pounds, which was chiefly laid out. Which was chiefly laid out in presents to the Indians and delivered to them at the public treaties, either by the governors of the province, Morris and Denny, or on behalf of the subscriber. Why were they paying they were paying tribute? It was rent. If you go back to Philadelphia and you look at what the boundary of Philadelphia was during this time, and from the time of William Penn up until this time, it was those 4 little squares: Washington Square, Franklin Square, Rittenhouse Square, and Logan Square. That was the extent of the city. Now, the city is huge now. We have this perception that it was huge back then. These people were paying tribute to live in little villages and doing trade all the way up into the 1700s. That's the perception that you need to have. Because it wasn't like they was doing anything else. They were paying tribute. All right? A Delaware chief settled at Wyoming, this is Pennsylvania, in 1758, and at the public expense, intending thereby to place him and his people as a former defense, as a frontier defense. All right. And so they made him come build houses for him and everything. All right. All right. So he's just talking about the treaty, the money that they paid him. And what was his name? In the treaty of the preceding year, T.D. Shung delivered an eloquent oration of the wrongs of his nation. All right. What were they doing wrong? Right here was 236 pounds, 14 shillings was raised by a number of religious Germans. That's Germantown. All right. The Schwenkfelders, which they directed to be applied to the particular purpose of the redemption of captives. We look at this thing wrong, bro. How we need to look at slavery was a war. Slavery was a war. And if you don't know the people who were involved, you won't know what was going on. All right? You won't know why the Aboriginals were enslaving them. Let's go back a little further. I don't want to go there because this is a translation of that treaty, but this is what I want to read, right? This is the statute confirming that when the treaty was made with the Mamlaka al-Maghrib, which we call Morocco, all right, which was an empire in West Africa, right? They paid tribute. They pay rent, bro, and tribute to be able to trade. These were little guys on the block. You trying to make George Washington and John Adams and these were little guys on the block, bro. All right, we need to get. They have made these people Superman. They were over little jurisdictions, and then they grew and got big. The wars, all the real wars of conquest, happened in the 1800s. Prior to that, this whole concept of slavery is wrong, bro. It's wrong. It was a war. We was whooping their ass. Sometimes they whooped our ass. And when you go all the way up to the Civil War, it was the Aboriginals who forced Lincoln and forced the North to take the stance that they did in order to save the country. And this is why you see brothers in those regiments. All right, let me read this. An act making a appropriation for the purpose therein mentioned, be it enacted by the House, Senate, and House of Representatives of the United States of America, and Congress assembled, that for the purpose of effecting a recognition of the Treaty of the United States with the new Emperor of Morocco, there be and hereby is appropriated a sum not exceeding 20,000 US dollars, and this is paid in gold, to be paid out of the monies which prior to the first day of January next shall arise from the duties imposed on spirits distilled within the United States. So they put a tax on the spirits in order to raise money to pay for their ability to trade in the Mediterranean, by which they could not without the protection of that particular empire, going all the way back to the first treaty. So in the West, we had black people ruling. In the East, we had black people ruling. And so when we talk about slavery, right, and it happening in reverse, what are we saying? Let me break this down so y'all don't get this confused. What are we saying? First of all, what we're saying is get that out of Africa, out of your head. Just throw that away. The out of Africa theory has already been debunked by the people who you trust in. So we had black people on both sides of the Atlantic interfacing with each other. This is what I wanted to show you, the Bonpec route to America Southeast, because we have the Kufic scripts of the other waves of indigenous Africans who were coming into the Americas, interfacing with the Aboriginal populations. Not only do we have that, we have the admixture to prove it. Then going further, right? Going further. Oh, I heard somebody somebody say something about old world diseases and people getting wiped out. Man, just shut up. You don't know nothing about nothing. You know nothing about genetics, immunity, plasma cells, antibody, epithelial cells, how the immune cells respond. Listen, you know how retarded that is? I can show you video after video and documentary after documentary of Europeans going into locations in India where indigenous population had never seen white people. They're eating the food, they're living. Oh, some of them are mating with these people. And ain't nobody getting wiped out, man. You got a whole wrong concept of people getting wiped out. And there were instances of war where certain tactics were used to wipe out people, but it didn't wipe out whole population. Nobody disappeared, bro. Like, get that out of here. Y'all, get some people who know biology before that community starts coming and talking. So let me jump off of that, jump right back. So when we start dealing with the fact that there were, let's just use the word Negroes, because that's what so-called Negroes on both sides of the Atlantic, who had interfaced before Europeans ever got here, all right? And so that history is there. So when we talk about our enslavement, right, we're talking about it wrong. And when we talk about it right, we start bringing up the socio-political, economic things that we need to be focusing on as a people. Pan-Africanists have no plan. Bruh, they have no plan. They want to sell you red, black, and green shoes. That's all they want to do. They want to sell you red, black, and green shoes. All right? And so what is the lawful and legal system that is going to be appropriated for our restorative and reparative action? What is the economic plan to induce certain types of business entities that are beneficial for us, that can save us tax money and other things, trust, acquisitions, property, when we are dealing with estates, all right? How are you going to plan that? What's the health paradigm of Afrocentric people? The reason why we're saying the slave trade started in reverse is so we can substantiate the reality of properly reconstructive history. This is why the stuff is not making sense, because it's not being put together properly by good historians. All right? All right? And so when we start dealing, and I see somebody comment, it's about our identity. Yo, let me break something down to you. See, this is how confused we are. African Americans are a multi-diverse people, right? Who had different origins, homie. The genocide of slavery created a people that had never been created before, but have lineage back to different indigenous people. Primarily, Aboriginal Americans, Southeastern Aboriginal Americans, and West Africans in Senegambia that are here, right? And so when we start dealing with who you are, I'm about to blow your head up, because now it shows that we have been prostitutes. We need to know who we are, and we know who we are in a sense. We are new people. Black people in America are a new people in the sense of our experience post-slavery, not new people in respect to lineage. You can keep going back to your lineage and you can say, oh yeah, I'm a Senegalese. What is that going to do for you today? Take a trip to Senegal and go see your great cousins? Right? No. That really only means we have similar genetics, and that's a whole other discussion, because that has to be very detailed. All right? Nobody is directly Senegalese in America. Like, cut that out. If you have genetic markers that are similar, it's like 4 explanations for that, and that's a conversation that has to be had within itself. All right? Because it's a very historical conversation, identity. But when I say we are a new people, I'm not trying to say we are new in the sense that we're not an ancient people. I'm saying we are new in our experience together. You're not jumping on no plane and going to Africa and then all of a sudden being invited into some family room and getting some type of asset program. Like, it's not happening like that. Your brothers, sisters, cousins, uncles, mamas, daddies, whatever, are right here. And your lineage, for the most part, is right here. The one that you don't know. You just keep searching for our identity. Look, black people, we already made our own identity here. We made our own identity. You running around with onks and other things, yeah, that's cool. All right, yeah, all right. Man, we got hip hop now. You see what I'm saying? We got a massive cocktail of people who have invented the greatest things. We have history and legacy. You see what I'm saying? Like, y'all acting like a bunch of coons. And so that's your problem. You searching for something and you already got something. So let me break this down to you. The reason why I'm highlighting these treaties and these tributary payments is for you to get a better reconstructed history of what happened. The treaties were violated, right? International law was violated. Using slavery is not appropriate. It was genocide and denationalization. When you get to that level of conversation, then you can do like all the other people on the planet, right? You can start self-administered reparations yourself, right? With the right legal expertise, health expertise, these specialists. You can start building institutions based on real things and real knowledge, right? Not based on, some other stuff. And then your institutions can serve you when you go on your venture to get external reparations, right? And so what I want to show you is you need to stop being the lapdog of people. You see what I'm saying? Like, you have your own culture. You don't have to go back to Nigeria to try to find culture. Nigeria was the home of the biggest sellouts, bro. I put this in the book. I gotta show you. I've been writing about this stuff for how long, man? And y'all still, I get frustrated. Like, yo, why are my people, why are my people letting everybody smack them around like they're nothing? All right? Y'all let people just disrespect y'all. Now y'all running behind people who enslaved y'all. Yeah, it gets crazy. All right, let me show you. Because I know it's not about belief. It's not about belief. It is about the truth. All right. Let me get to it. Here we go. This is 101, y'all. This is 101. Who do they want to enslave in West Africa and who do they want to enslave in the Americas? It's 101. I'm gonna show you. Go right to Columbus's letter. He tells you. Go right. Who enslaved the so-called Negro African American? All right. I'm gonna come back and read this letter, but here you go. This is what happened. It has long been promoted that the slave trade in the Atlantic was primarily the doing of white Europeans as well as Muslims. Retarded. That part is retarded. The transatlantic slave trade from West Africa was controlled by Muslims? Are you kidding me? That's stupid. All right. That is a historical fallacy and untruth. The hidden partner of the Europeans was the African kings, many of whom converted to Christianity and became adverse to those Islamic kingdoms who were in crusades against these Europeans. The Africans united with them, all right, to sell their own people. Look, the following kingdoms supported Europeans in kidnapping and the ancestors that did come from West Africa. Who were they? Kingdom of Ouida, currently called Benin. All right? These only people are apologizing now. The kingdom of Dahomey, the kingdom of Oyo, all right? That's Nigeria, all right? The kingdom of Angola, the kingdom of the Congo. These were all willing participants, all right? So let's read up on it. You see the source here. I'm going to show you the source. The Tour of Africa, containing a concise account of all the countries in that quarter of the globe, Volume 2 by Catherine Hutton, pages 322 to 323 is where I'm reading from. But I want to read here. All right. It was to be lamented that notwithstanding this kind of treatment, the Negroes were so willful as sometimes to starve or drown themselves rather than make a voyage to Barbados, shackled 2 and 2 together. When the cargo could not otherwise be completed, the king would sell 300 or 400 of his wives. This is the king of Weta. Oh, first of all, what you doing with 400 wives, huh? Are you kidding me? You selling your women to Europeans? All right. The king of Weta was magnificently clothed in gold and silver. When they went to salute him in the morning, they prostrated themselves on the ground before the door of his house. They then crawled on all fours into his presence. There seems to be a general propensity in men not only to obey but to worship him. All right. So they're just giving a recount of what happened. I want to read more. All right, I want to get to the part where, oh yeah, this is my list right here. 51 African rulers of the Kingdom of Congo from the years 1407 to 1830 who willingly converted to Christianity, changed their indigenous names via baptism, allied with the Portuguese, Belgium, and other white Europeans or white Arabs, and who supported, captured, and sold so-called slaves in the trans-Saharan slave trade and the transatlantic slave trade. I got every king listed. Who did it? Look. Look. Don't tell me I don't do research. What are you talking about? Oh, you letting them off? I'm not letting nobody off the hook. I'm pointing out the sellouts because we still got sellouts in our community today. That's your problem. You think just because somebody got a black face that they're gonna be your brother or sister. That's not the case, homie, and never will be. I'm gonna say it again, and never will be. Never. Let me go back. All right. So here we go. This is Columbus's letter, right? Cristobal Colon. What did he say? Whereas most Christian, high, excellent, and powerful princes, king and queen of Spain, and of the islands of the sea, our sovereigns, this present year, 1492, after your highness had terminated the war with the Moors who were reigning in Europe, the same having been brought to an end in the great city of Granada. All right. So they're fighting the Moors, which are West Africans. All right. West African Muslims. That's all that is. And then who else are they fighting? And later in the same month, because of the report, keyword, the report that I had given to your highness about the lands of India and about a prince who is called Grand Khan, which means in our Spanish language, King of Kings. How many times he and his predecessors had sent to Rome to ask for men learned in our holy faith in order that they might instruct him in it, and how our Holy Father had never provided them. And thus so many peoples were lost, falling into idolatry and accepting false and harmful religions. So he's talking about these indigenous people in the West. This is their plan, how they're going to execute it. So let me go further. Hold on, come off of this. Let me go a little bit further. I'm gonna kill it with this one. All right. We know the slave trade happened in reverse, right? And we know what's going to end all of this slavery. It's not Pan-Africanism in no way, shape, or form. The only thing that is going to end this is this Aboriginal paradigm, period. Like it or not. That's the only thing that's going to end the slavery. That's the only thing that's going to end this genocide. That's the only thing that's going to get us back on that economic footing. That's the only thing that's going to give us a proper reconstruction of history and heritage. That's the only thing that's going to take us into our deeper sciences so we can implement the types of things that we need to raise our people. all these people talking online, the little leprechaun and all these other people, listen, you wasting your time with them type of people. First of all, they're so envious and jealous and angry because they see other people, winning or getting attention or being successful, that they can never get together with you to do anything anyway. All right, they're gonna tear it down. They're gonna tear it down. I want to get this last concept over to you, and then we can be done. All right, here we go. Took a little while for that to open. Oh yeah, she did it already. Yep, she did it. That tomorrow. All right, let's go. Let's go. I'm going to show you what these people know. See, you can't fool Europeans because they've been running the scheme. They know Pan-Africanism is fake. They made it. In the sense of intelligence agencies working together to use the sleight of hand, because they know that those people are dependent on their reconstructions of history. All right. So where do I want to go? Right here, Doctrine of Discovery. Bam. Can y'all see that? If you have never heard of the Doctrine of Discovery, you need to know what it is. All right. So the Doctrine of Discovery as it pertains to the identity of the African American. The first part of this material, and this is another book that I wrote, called I'll show you what it's called. Right here. The Aboriginal, the Moor, the African. All right. I wrote this book too, and it's in print. The first part of this material deals with the doctrine of discovery and its origins in the war of the church against African and Aboriginal nations, right? It is the author's position that the importance of highlighting this doctrine of discovery and its significance economically, legally, and socio-politically is that it is still in operation. Today, millions of indigenous people are still impacted by the institutions that descend from the church, eugenics and genocide, and later, in the later European institutions that now dominate the property and persons of these fallen nations. The people have been shrewdly reclassified as African Americans, Afro-Mexicans, Afro-Brazilians, forced into the educational institutions of Europeans and their descendants, and socially engineered to be perpetual slaves without the physical chains, and in some instances, with the chains and bars and prisons that hold us. The discussion on our historical identity, is not just a history class. It is an education that peers into the hows and whys of the colonizing and into the remedy from our indigenous government structure. It is a conversation made to bring about clarity and unity of thought amongst indigenous peoples in the Americas and globally, so they can act and stop complaining. After reading this book, I propose we view our surroundings to verify that the words of this book are accurate, then implement the systematic strategy that this material imparts for remedying our situation as indigenous peoples of diverse cultural backgrounds. See, that's important. We all Aboriginals. That's tying us to the land. Whatever your specific cultural paradigm is and how you do things, you don't have to give that up unless it is seeded with colonizing agents. All right. The level of observational science used in this material can only be classified as unique. However, its focus is the scientific evidence and proof of the past identity of the Aboriginal Americans, all right, Moors, and ancient Africans. Who were they? How do we determine it with 100% efficiency? And how do we know that these are our ancestors? All right. Some of this other stuff is just particular like things that I put in it, but let me keep going on this issue of the doctrine of discovery. Now look at this. This is Dumpster Versa of Pope Nicholas IV, 1452, before Columbus, right? Look at what they wanted to do. You're still under the doctrine of discovery, homie. That's what I'm trying to get to you. You're using pseudonames of identity, and psychologically, when I see you accepting that, I know how you think. So when I try to introduce something to you that's really really beneficial, your mind is already programmed because you're walking around with these cognomens, names, monikers that are from your enemy. So look at it. Look at what they wanted to do. This is them this is them putting their strategy out. From Rome, we grant to you full and free power through the who? Apostolic authority. Stop. That is the authority of the foreign religions that you have been following that colonize your mind. Now, I'm going to break something down to you that is super important. Some of the African ones that you are following are also pseudo, because they're from slave masters. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. And this is as an initiate of systems who understand systems. When you go and you get initiated into IFA, right? And you go through all of the things that you need to understand all of the 256 Odu. You understand all of the things that you go through in your initiation. If you did it, you know what I'm talking about, right? Ask yourself a question. Where in the hell were these Orisha when you was getting put on the ship by your Nigerian brother or sister? Where were they? I'm pretty sure that they were called upon and nothing happened. So the apostolic authority is not only tailored towards the Arab religions that you follow, the Jewish religions that you follow, the Europeanized Christian religions that you follow, all aspects of them. They are also for the African ones that you follow that mean nothing to you and can do nothing for you and did nothing for you to get you out of the situation when you were calling on Olodumare, calling on Eshu, calling on Yemeya, calling on Shango, calling on whoever you were calling on at the time where they were loading up them goddamn ships. Nobody answered. Nobody answered. Huh? Look, I'm glad you asked the question. The question was, where were your gods when slavery went in reverse? Nowhere. Nowhere. So the one thing that we have learned throughout this time period is that we need a better understanding of culture and spirituality, because if you just adopted a system because it was done 10,000 years ago, excuse me, not that long ago, let's say 5,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago. Oh, I'm going to do this because the priests of Egypt did it. Man, the Romans put that shit in the suitcase, homie. Ain't no Netchers saved Egypt from Greco-Rome. So one of the lessons that the slave trade taught you is that you need a higher understanding of spirituality in order to perform in a modern time. These circumstances are pressing you to get that kind of understanding. I am not, listen, I'm looking at Orishas through a European lens. No, I am not. No, I am not. No, I'm not. So let me go through your African lens. All right. Let me go through your African spiritual forces lens. They're just forces of nature, Inyame, or whatever terms that you want to call them. Right? What are the systems that you want to use that are for the cultivation of your people, for the self-awareness and building of culture of your people? My point to you is if it is useless for you to live for the protection of your people, it is useless. It's useless. Not that you should even divorce yourself away from it. That's not what I'm saying. That's where you're missing the point. You should see the system as the originators of the system created it. And that's what you're missing. That's what you're missing. Because the preacher wasn't the first one to lie about God. That came from our people. Greed, avarice, pimping. That did not come with the European. See, that's your problem. All of these issues that you are pointing your finger at the European, you should point them at him because he's a vicious, colonizing liar. However, he wasn't the first. I'm about to prove it. Let's keep going. We grant you full and free power through the apostolic authority by this edict to invade, conquer, fight, subjugate. Who? The Saracens and pagans and other infidels and other enemies of Christ. And wherever established their kingdoms, duchies, royal places, principalities, and other dominions, lands, places, estates, camps, and any other possessions, mobile and immobile goods, found in all their places, and held in whatever name, and held and possessed by the same Saracens, pagans, infidels, and the enemies of Christ. Also realms, duchies, royal palaces, principalities, and other dominions, lands, places, estates, camps, possessions of the king or prince, or of the kings or princes, and to lead their persons in perpetual servitude. That was the first time there was a call for perpetual servitude, and to apply and appropriate realms, duchies, royal palaces, principalities, and other dominions, possessions, and goods of this kind to you and your use and your successors. Dumb's diversa. All right? And so we got Columbus coming, right? So let me go further. Then dumbs. I want to show you what you need to see map-wise. Give me a moment. There we go. Here we go. So when the Portuguese first started coming, the reason why the papal decree was saying Saracen is because Saracen was the name for the indigenous African Muslims. That was the term that they used. The term did not originate there, right? The term goes all the way back to the Punic period. The term is shown in papyri, and it was the Saracens, the Nobades, and the Barbaroi, which where we get the word Berbers from. They were allies against the Romans, right? They were allies. This is over 1,000 years before this period that I'm mentioning, and so the crusade kept going. But one thing about the crusade that you're not adding in is the success of the crusade took Europeans allying with Africans to enunciate the slavery. That's what it took. Let me keep going. I got to protect history. All right? I got to protect history. because Chancellor Williams made a vulgar mistake because he was not a good historian on this area. All right. The Portuguese were focused on invasions, and their success is rooted in the divisions in the Maghreb. The African Muslims were facing hostile Euro-Arab allied assault and the assault of other African kings in alliance with the Portuguese. All right. So on the false claim that Morocco invaded Timbuktu, clarification of the point. It has been stated that the Black Muslims of Morocco or Arab Muslims of Morocco invaded Timbuktu. What is called Morocco today was separated by a war and subsequent split between the Arab factions of the south, which became the Saadi dynasty, and the Marinids and Wattasids of the north, which were Africans. The war was settled by the Battle of Tadla in 1527. The Almoravids were the ruling dynasty in power, while the Moors ruled during the Enlightenment period in Spain and through its closing. The Mali Empire and the Almoravid were the main Black empires of West Africa. The entire area known as Morocco today was ruled by the Almoravid state before its decline. There were a few pale Arab and European ruling polities that temporarily subjected West Africans to civil war and political upheaval, causing the region to become more vulnerable to European invasions. They are the Almohad dynasty, the dynasties, the Saudi dynasty, see the time periods, the Wattasid dynasty. All of the above ruling entities were controlled by pale Arabs and mixed Berber Bedouins. Right here, these three. The ruling Black Muslim polities were the Almoravid, the Marinid dynasty, the Mali Empire, and the Songhai Empire. Also, later the Sharifian ruled through Muhammad ibn Abdullah. It was the southern pale Arab Moroccans who caused a civil war in Morocco. These pale Arabs allied with Spain and other European powers and had temporal rule. During the temporal rule of the Saudi dynasty, they invaded Songhai. It was economic incentive and the influence of England that drove them to do so. The pale Arabs used paid mercenaries from Spain to do their dirty work. Ahmed al-Mansur hired Judar Pasha, a white Spaniard, and a eunuch who was raised as a child to be in the military of the Saudi court. Judar, with his use of guns and mercenaries from Europe, was able to topple the major cities of the Moors, indigenous Muslims of the Songhai Empire. Eventually, a plan was put in place to take back the entirety of Morocco by those Aboriginal Muslims. In 1631, Moulay al-Sharif took over Tafalit, and his son Moulay Rashid eventually drove out the Saudi from power. The Sharifians regained prominence of power over those pale Arab infiltrators and who had allied with Europe. All right. According to the records, we have proof that the Blacks ruled this dynasty of the Moors in Morocco that finally made treaties with Great Britain and the United States of America that has official bearing on the claims regarding the political plight of denationalized Negro African Americans who were once properly identified, the ones who were primarily ones who were taken in slavery. And so, let me show you one more. I only read that for this purpose. Let's see, let me go back. There you go. Bam. All right. This is the depiction that they give of Sidi Muhammad, and this is the real depiction. So let's zoom in a little bit so you can see this. All right. So you can see this. And let me read from a primary source. Left, original depiction of Caliph Muhammad ibn Abdullah of Marrakesh, painting made by Colonel Maurice Bagnal, Saint Laguerre, Keating, 1785, and reproduced in Travels Through France and Spain to Morocco, comprising the narrative of the author's residence in that empire. with an account of the British embassy to the court of Morocco under the late George Payne, Esquire, Consul General in London in 1817. Right. The fake painting created in the 20th century, the false picture of Sidi Muhammad painting by Vizeg used in the Alawi dynasty genealogy and commonly reproduced as being the portrait of Sidi Muhammad III wearing the red tarbush of the fake Alawi dynasty. So one is an African, one is an Arab. You got to read the primary document. The only reason I'm showing this is because his great-great-great-grandfather to the third power, this man right here, see if I can find his face, a depiction of him. I might not be able to. All right. But the point is, when you go study Mullah Ishmael, right, it was this black African who was enslaving Europeans. Bruh, y'all don't have the history right. Y'all singing this kumbaya, oh woe is me. Y'all have a perception that has been given to you through a movie. That's all I can say. It's been given to you through a movie. All right? It's been given to you through a movie. All right? And so what I'm saying is, I didn't say that. I'm dealing with West African history. So you can understand the dynamic. You need to understand the dynamic in order to reconstruct history properly. You follow me? Ain't nobody trying to make y'all nothing. It just needs to be reconstructed properly. All right? Hold on. All right. So what I'm helping you do is I'm helping you reconstruct history properly, right? And it has bearing because when you look at the time periods and you start thinking about what they're telling us about the West African slave trade, it cannot make sense when you add in other factors. It doesn't make sense, right? You had to have the decline of that last empire before you had an opening up of the slave trade in West Africa. And that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. So some of the stories that you're giving about the West African slave trade are complete buffoonery if you don't reconstruct the history right. Right? Okay. So that's the third chapter that I was talking about earlier. I had to mention it because it's the third chapter. When we rewind back to this first chapter, right? That first chapter and those documents and the descriptions of the people who were in the southeastern seaboard, it debunks all of this discussion from these Pan-Africans. Let me go back to it and read this last part so you can really get it. Give me a moment. Where are you at? Where are you at? To show you more. What did they see when they got here? What did they see? I'm going to read it. From the first explorers. Oh, we don't need. No, you have to cross-reference all of these things. This is how you reconstruct history. You bring in the genetics, you bring in the epigraphy, you bring in the eyewitness reports, and then what do? You come to a conclusion. You come to a conclusion. All right? Let's see. All right. I'm going to read from two things, the Lewis and Clark documents and this other document. All right. Lewis and Clark, I should know who they are, right? When they went over and did their exploration of the United States, they talked about what they saw. See, it was already known there was a difference between the so-called red man, I should say, and the black tribes. All right. I'm just writing down these page numbers so I'll know when I'm flipping back and forth. Hold on 1 second. All right, there we go. There we go. There we go. Now, the only reason I wanted to mention that West African Islamic history is this. Right here. Is this. Right here. Now, this was found where? In Nevada. And it was thought that they thought this was American Indian scratch. All right. What was this? All right. Anybody who can read this, it says Nabi, Allah, Muhammad. And this is a part of a larger text. All right. This is in Nevada. Kufi. And so rectify, when you look at when Kufic was developed, when you look at the admixture that I showed you earlier, West African mitochondrial DNA admixture, all right? When you look at the epigraphy, bruh, stop denying the facts, all right? Stop denying the facts. It's a waste of time at that point, right? It's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. I read all of that to show you. Let me go back. Go back. That they were here. There were waves of Africans coming into the New World. There were. Like, you're just not going to get around it. It happened. All right, so let's go back. I went back all the way back to the beginning of what I was talking about, so you could get where are they? All right. There we go. This is where I'm going to go. All right. So look, check this out. I'm going to show you where these other waves of people came from, right? Before I do that, let me read this point. Oh, man, this is going to be good right here. All right. This is going to be good. I need to get this book. All right, so that's page 45. I'm gonna come back to that. I want to read this one description. I can't find it. Let's see if I can find it. I know it's right before these guys. There you go. That's the political side. Boom, 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 boom. There we go. All right. All right. So this was the first European explorer to come on the mainland of North America. Was this guy, Verrazano. All right, Verrazano's Bridge. When you're going into New York, right, is named after him. And this is, look at the time period, 1524. All right, 1524. At this time, there were no African slaves being brought to North America. There weren't any. There weren't any. This is a direct quote. Let me give you the source right here. The written record of the voyage of 1524 of Giovanni de Verrazano, as recorded in a letter to Francis I, King of Spain, July 8, 1524. Got it? Got that source? Y'all say I'm gonna be using primary. That's primary. Quote, some of them wear garlands of bird feathers. Again, you got these bird feathers. This is 1524. It wasn't no war bonnets. Where were the war bonnets at? This ain't no Western movie. All right, here they go. They are dark in color, not unlike who? Ethiopians with thick black hair. Bruh, stop playing with me, bruh. Stop playing with me. All right, stop playing with me. Like y'all playing with me. Stop playing with me. All right, let's keep going. All right, so now you got those people there. Look at the description of these people. Now come to these people. The infiltrate, the Eurasians, because they came, but they talked about how they came. So when we see these pictures, right? When we see this, we need to understand that it's connected to what I'm about to show you. It's connected to this. I'll show you what it's connected to. All right. Get this. All right. This is my rendition of this. All right. Aztecs. All right. Another source. Historia Tolteca Chichimeca is a 16th century Nahuatl language manuscript dealing with the history of, I don't even want to pronounce that. It is currently located in the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris. It is written by Fernando de Alva. Yeah, you got it. That's Aztec. That's later. The word Aztec is derived from the word for the people, Tec or Teca, and Az or Aztlan. According to Aztec legend and codex documents, they Aztec invaded the Mexico Valley and Tenochtitlan, now called Mexico, from a what? Foreign place. They invaded from a foreign place. They are not the Aboriginals. They are not autochthons. They came from somewhere else. They came from a place that they call Aztlan. The fact that they were migrants to the Valley of Mexico is recorded in the Bortorini Codex, Codex Telluriano Remensis, and Codex Aubin. Those are your codexes right there. Go buy these. Those are your codexes. The Aztec entered the Mexico Valley. Look when they entered. This is the later migration. And were not an indigenous people to the Americas. Their records placed in certain codexes display this fact and display the Aboriginal black inhabitants that they warred with, spied on, and worked with the Spanish to oust from power. It is the author's premise that these Aztec are descendant and were outcasts, right? Depictions of Austronesian Cam fighting Aboriginal Khmer founders of Angkor Wat. That's important. And were from these entitled Austronesian peoples, which gives them the language origins with Austronesian languages and places them amongst the Southeast Asian stock. The possible areas of origination are known today as Cambodia, Vietnam, the Philippines, Micronesia, Polynesia, New Zealand, and Polynesian Islands, Thailand, Solomon Islands, further west to Tamil, and even further south into Australia. The Bortorini Codex depicts the Aztecs as coming to Mexico in boats from a land of structures and pyramids, and the Cambodian area known as Angkor Wat, Angat, Angatam, and a few other areas are the only southeastern areas that match the descriptions of the temples and the pyramids. The phenotypes, genetic studies, and geologic environmental events, some cataclysmic, support the position of various waves of migrations from this area to the western coast of Americas. When these migrationists came in their waves, they found the true Aboriginal black populations of the Americas already here with fully operational civilizations. All right. North American invasion chronology, 16,000 years ago to 10,000 years ago. Earliest population dispersals occurred at the same time as changes in environmental landscape. I told you about these bottlenecks and migrations. Real people who study know these. Real academics know these. All geneticists don't know these. Know this. Some of them do. All right. You need to study the ones who understand the bottlenecks and population dispersals based on environmental cataclysms and fallout, particularly rising sea levels, which submerged a huge ancient continent now called Sunderland. Ha! Now, I already proved that geologists, all right, stated that there's an 8th continent in the Pacific. And so when I was saying this years ago, it was like, oh, I wasn't calling it the lost land of Mu, but y'all call it that. So, hey, it don't matter to me. Y'all call it what y'all want. It's a damn continent that used to be in the Pacific. That's not anymore. And it's like, y'all got to get up to date with the information. Dr. Martin Richards in Climate Change and Post-Glacial Human Dispersals of Southeast Asia confirms these migrations. The earlier out of Taiwan model proposed that humans migrated south from the northern area of Taiwan. Yet DNA evidence has proposed the opposite direction of the migrations, originating from the south. Dr. Stephen Oppenheimer was the first to propose the island Southeast Asian migration model in his material, Eden in the East, the drowned continent of Southeast Asia. The latest study, which has been led by Leeds University and published in the journal Molecular Biology and Evolution, shows that a substantial fraction of the mitochondrial DNA lines inherited by female descendants have been evolving within the region of the islands of Southeast Asia for a much longer period, some since modern humans arrived about 50,000 years ago. The DNA lineages show population dispersals at the same time as sea level rises, and also show migrations into Taiwan, east out of New Guinea, and the Pacific. The author proposes here that the earliest migrations of the invading Aztec and Yucatec regions and current so-called Native American phenotypes are from this geographic region. They're foreigners. Dr. Oppenheimer from Oxford University School of Anthropology said, one of my main predictions in the book was that 3 major floods following the Ice Age forced the inhabitants to escape in boats to flee to less flood-prone regions. By examining mitochondrial DNA from their descendants in Southeast Asia and the Pacific, we now have strong evidence to support flooding theory, and this is possibly why Southeast Asia has a richer store of flood myths. All right, he keeps going. Martin Richards. I know it gets boring, but this is the academic side. You got to read it. Martin Richards, the first professor of archaeogenetics at Leeds University, led the research team. He stated, I think the study results are going to be a big surprise for many archaeologists and linguists on whose studies conventional migration theories are based. These population expansions had nothing to do with agriculture, but were most likely to have been driven by climate change, in particular, global warming and the resulting sea level rises at the end of the Ice Age between 15,000 to 7,000 years ago. Now, I disagree with this whole Ice Age, water melting. Is something else there that's in the culture to tell you what happened from the indigenous records. Geologists place this occurrence at the time of the last Ice Age, yet we come up with an exact date and a more detailed chronology when we add in the new geomagnetic chronology and timeline and the prime meridian science, all right, left by these ancient Americans. So now look, I gotta do this. You ain't gonna get away from this. I'm gonna give you the page number. When I brought the book Geomagnetic Biology, right, by April Dubrov, and I showed this right here. Let me show you. I showed this right here. Where is my, I'm lost somewhere. Okay, gotta be somewhere. All right. Got so many tabs open, I'm getting lost in here. All right, there we go. All right, check me out. Let me show you this from Geomagnetobiology, which is a book written by A.P. Dubrov, and it deals with this. This is important. All right. Chromosome mutations based on the changes in the GMF field. They have a whole section on this. I'm not going to read it now because I don't want to give away. I gave this away already when we did that evolutionary conference. Y'all weren't paying attention. Changes in the Earth's geomagnetic field results in chromosome mutations, malignant mutations. So some of these population dispersals had to do with environmental catastrophes. And this is what our people wrote. They didn't write about no damn sea level rising. They wrote about what we are calling today tsunamis, which we just saw one in Japan a few years ago that wiped out a few thousand people. See, we can see the things that are happening. We can see them. They happen in our time. If you got 15,000 people that get wiped out by a tsunami caused by an earthquake, and you have Olmec Mayan deities named after or named for these events in nature, they were observing these particular things. And when it comes to the geomagnetic field, where were the first lodestone compasses made on Earth to measure the Earth's magnetic field? I'm going to ask that again real slow. Where were the first lodestone compasses made to measure the Earth's geomagnetic field? Was it in Kemet? No. Was it in Nigeria? No. Was it in Asia? No. Was it in South Africa in some ancient time period? Was it in the Nabta complex? No. Where was it? Where was the first human attempt to understand the geomagnetic field of the Earth? Where was it? Right here in good old America. Right here in good old America. All right? And so now I'm going deeper. I'm going deeper. So now you have a modern book that details geomagnetic field variation and how it affects chromosome mutations. They do it in history through the dating systems. I'll give you an example. I'm going to give you an example. One of the things they highlight in the book is that Lucy, who was found in Kenya, all right, in East Africa, right, there was high amounts of argon in the dig. When they did the dig, they found all this argon, right? So anybody who knows about dating systems, you have one called potassium argon dating, right? And I'll have no notes. I'm not reading. I can do this with my eyes closed. Watch this. Potassium argon dating deals with what? The beta decay of potassium into argon, right? Beta decay is when one mineral element converts itself to another based on the loss of radiation in the field of that particular mineral element. So when you have a massive amount of potassium that decays into argon, what these scientists of geomagnetobiology understand is that something had to alter in the Earth's geomagnetic field in order to affect the organisms in that environment. Look, when you are looking at Lucy, which I think she was Australopithecus afarensis. I don't know. Maybe she was that. I forget which hominid that she is. What you're looking at is the devolving of Homo sapiens. I should say heterosapiens. We're not Homo sapiens. All right. My classification for us is heterosapiens because we're different. Hetero means different. All right. When you look at the original heterosapiens, the original humans, Lucy and others, the proposal is already out there. That's why they're looking at mutations based on chromosomes. What environmental factors can cause massive shifts in biology amongst organisms, possibly wiping them out and making them extinct or changing their form in a great way, right? And so when we look at that factor, when we look at the factors of Indigenous American mythos and records, and when we look at their intense study of the Earth's geomagnetic field, it proves who they are. So let me go back to my points, because I'm dealing with slave trade in reverse, start in reverse, Negroes being taken from the Americas, these Negroes having thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years of existence in the Americas. Thousands. And so I got to show this now. I got to show it. When we look at, let me shut that down. When we look at, which book am I going to open? Hold on. One of these is already open. So I mentioned something. I mentioned something about prime meridian science, right? I mentioned something about geomagnetic field. And in one of my earlier lectures, I mentioned something about longitude and latitude. So they were asking, what does longitude and latitude or earth measurement, or what does that have to do with a pyramid being 50,000 years old? You are too dumb to have a conversation. So now, just because you don't know doesn't mean that these things didn't happen. It's just that you're not putting one and two together. So I'll give you an example. When we count time right now, right, and we say what time is it now here? 12 o'clock? We are basing that based on time zones. So if it's 12 o'clock where I'm at right now, then it's in California is 3 hours away, right? So they're still at 9:10, right? How do we know? How do we calculate that? The movement of the Earth. To the flat earthers, the Earth is spinning, right? The Earth is spinning, and so as the Earth spins, is more light in other places, and some go into the shadow, right? Real simple. So now, if you want to set up the ability to move on the globe, you need longitude and latitude. If you want to do international trade from Africa to the Americas, this is before white people were going, you have to know how to get in your ship and travel from West Africa into Brazil, from other points. And in order to do that, you also have to know astronomy. You can use the star charts, right? You can use the lodestone compasses to know whether you're going north or south. You have to be intelligent to do these particular things. And so all I'm saying is this: Black people in the Americas who were not Africans, who were Aboriginals here, developed all of this science before anybody on Earth. They developed it. And the white people are telling you they have the stuff. Look at these Black people in North America who had these lodestone compasses, who were figuring out the Earth's magnetic field, and they're telling you that. Then when you look in the records of the Black people, they're telling you that. So when I highlighted a pyramid lining up at a certain point, it's the same as the time being counted from London right now. The prime meridian is in London. It's in London. So let me ask you a question. Where was the prime meridian set so that people could travel? Because we know that the African, so-called, the indigenous Africans, were traveling and they could know time zones. Where was it set last before that? In Cairo. We got the records. And how long has the prime meridian been set in Cairo? When the indigenous African Muslims took back over civilization, they brought all this stuff back. Where the hell do you think they got it from? If white people didn't have it, how did they know how to set up a prime meridian? So when the Umayyad were going into when they were first of all, they originated in Egypt. When they were in Egypt, they had all of this knowledge on prime meridian science. The reason why the Great Pyramid, one of the reasons why it was built, is it was built based on longitudinal science and prime meridian science. This is so you can do trade, travel, timekeeping, bro. That's an advanced, that's a civilization that makes sense. Could you imagine if we was walking around, didn't know how far it was from here to California? How are we going to get there? We don't know what is north and south. How we gonna walk somewhere? Y'all talking about Neanderthals and all these people walked all over the planet. They didn't even know what north and south was. Niggas would have fell in a damn ditch somewhere. I can't believe that y'all believe some of this stuff, man. Like, for real, you know what? Y'all really pissed me off tonight because I didn't realize until I started talking how stupid y'all motherfuckers are. Like, it's really coming down to me like, yo, it's grown men. Garfield damn near 60 years old. Sounding like a Jamaican leprechaun. His ass can't even read enough to know these simple truths. Like, this is retarded at this point. Why? I'm not coming back on to talk about this ever again. This is my last time talking about it, so I'm going to give you everything that I'm going to say. So, get back to the point. The Olmecs developed the lodestone compasses. They developed longitude and latitude. And when they built Cholula, this is the point that I was making, all right? When they built these pyramids, right? These pyramids were made for multiple purposes. Some purposes you can't even get into. I'm not even going to get into. Maybe I will. I might do it anyway. They were going back to the point. Oh yeah, they were setting up a prime meridian because they were global travelers. They needed to know how much time it took to get from one point to another. They had to make enough food provisions to travel from continent to continent, bro. And they left the evidence. I'm going to show it to you. I'm just going to go in tonight. I'm going to show it to you. I don't know how long I've been talking. I'm going to keep talking until my voice goes. Because I'm not coming on here to talk about this no more because of a bunch of dumbass Pan-Africanists who just believe white people hook, line, and sinker. All right? So check this out. And you're not even believing the best research from white people. You believe in the worst research. Damn, believe the white people who's smart. All right, so when I go back to this issue of the feathers that they brought up, right? And I said that I got to show it to you. Let me just show it to you. Let me open this back up because I closed some stuff down. Let me open it back up. Let me go back. I got to go back now. Y'all ain't ready. Y'all are not ready. The whole pyramid complex in North and Central and South America is based on longitude and latitude and prime meridian science. And it's also based on knowing the spin pole and the GMF, the geomagnetic field, the North Pole. All right, these things were aligned to these things. So I'm gonna show you. Let's just keep going. I gotta open this back up. So look, let me go deeper. So when I talked about 7 Macau earlier and the feathered headdress, anybody who studies astronomy knows that the pole stars, there's 7 pole stars. And what do the pole stars measure? If I go outside and I want to know north, like Harriet Tubman, I can look up and I look up at the Big Dipper. You got the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper. Now, some of us look at that. We can look at that at night and tell what's north. Not only that, we also know that the astronomers know, and astronomers of ancient history knew that the Earth wobbles. The Earth's North Pole wobbles through those 7 stars. That's why they called it 7 Macau. They're telling you astronomy, bro. And the symbol was the serpent. Draco was there. So you got the serpent, and you got 7, and you got Macau. The bird is there because it represents the constellation that never sets. All right? So when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad talked about a 25,000 year calendar, and everybody was like, he making that shit up, right? This is recorded in Black people's civilizations and culture for thousands of years, bro. Like, y'all just slow. And y'all won't trust Elijah. What's Elijah Muhammad's source? Elijah Muhammad's source is his teacher. What is his teacher's source? His teacher's source is bringing back all the ancient wisdom from Black people, right? And so let me get to this point because I'm missing the point. Let me scroll through and go and show you visuals so you won't keep arguing with me. Let me show you visuals of this stuff. Don't check Garfield's post. He's a dead leprechaun. I killed that nigga and took his pot of gold. I killed him. I killed that Jamaican leprechaun. He's dead. You know what? Garfield will never be able to come back out after this. I'm not gonna stop until I already crushed that whole bullshit that he tried to do with the slave trade in reverse. That's done. Now we about to go way over his head. We about to go way over his head. Garfield too short for this. You can't jump this high, Garfield. You cannot jump this high. All right. So look. Give me a moment. I'm just opening a lot of stuff because I'm going to kill. What I'm going to do right now is all you people. Oh, the Americans are not older than Africa, and I'm not dissing my brothers and sisters in Africa because that's not what I'm doing. I've never been doing, so don't try to put me against them. What I'm doing is I'm showing you what records say, not what you making up. I'm showing you what records say. You don't have these kind of dates in Africa that I'm about to bring up. You don't have it. They don't exist. You don't exist. They don't exist. Calendar dates, they don't exist. I don't care. You can make up all you want. You can get mad. You can get upset. But none of what you won't be able to say that nigga lied. That's what you won't be able to say. All right. So give me a moment to open these up. I'm gonna open up everything. Open up the whole file. Y'all said y'all wanted to know this, so I'm gonna just open it up. I might be scaring Jabari away from the debate that he said he wanted to do. Good. We don't need the debate. Let's go build something. I don't even feel like hearing y'all ignorance in the debate. Y'all too dumb. I don't want to sit down and listen to none of y'all dumb niggas no more. No, I don't want to do it. All right, hold up. Let me open this up. The first thing I'm going to show is dates. A dating system. All right. I'm going to show you the numbers so you can see how not only how intelligent these people are, but that far enough back? Okay, yeah. All right. So hold up. I'm opening these files one by one, and I'm going to break this down in detail. Y'all ain't getting away. Not this time. It's over. Y'all not getting away. No more getting away. All right. And so the time periods that I'm about to show take the calendar systems of the She, the blacks here in America, the Aboriginals here in America, back into not millions of years, not billions of years, not trillions of years, not quadrillions of years, not sextillions of years. No, I'm going back further. Septillion, octillion. What were they using these numbers for? I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you what they were using these numbers for. I'm going to show you what they were using these numbers for. I got to scroll back through these pictures. And I want to give you a source like I've been doing all night. I want to give you this source. All right. Let's see. Here we go. Give you this source. All right. That's not it. All right. All right. Is this it? I think this is it right here. I just got to get to the right page number. Just got to get to the right page number. Yup. Here we go. All right. I'm gonna go right to these steles and go to these dates, and then you can come on. What are you doing up there? All right. All right, so the steles that I'm going to be using are the Coringa stele. What else? All right. All right. 189. Yeah. All right, so 189. Let me go to this. Hopefully this is it. I don't want to keep going to this. All right, 189 is the page I'm supposed to go in, and I'll cite the book for you. I'll cite the book for you. I'm going to tell you where they say they came from. Ain't no Olmec said they came from no Africa. Oh man, I had this prepped a little bit better, but you know, I was kind of floating around because I didn't expect to go into all this because, you know what I mean? Sometimes it ain't even necessary, but I'm gonna just go into it. This means I have to open up these documents. So just bear with me a little bit. Bear with me a little bit. All right, so check this out. And all I want you to do is, this is what I want you to do. You're not gonna be able to deal with this. All right, so let me show the first trick. Yeah, you ain't gonna be able to deal with this. This is gonna blow your mind. All right. All right, so let's go into these dates. All right, so we're dealing with the Koba stele, 1 and 5 and 28. All right, Yaschelan structure 33, Coringa stele A, D, E, and F, Copan steles. All right, so all these steles. All right, and so these periods right here are periods that are all listed, and you're making astronomical calculations, and one of them in particular deals with the cosmology mythos of the origin of 3 entities that manifested from the back of the turtle as a cosmological genesis, almost of what we would term ancestors. Okay, but look at these numbers. All right, look at these numbers. All right, how many zeros are here? Let's count them. 3, 6, 9. All right, let's go just thousands, millions, billions, trillions, quadrillions, quadrillions. I got my quads. I'm messing up. Sextillions. Oh, quintillions. Excuse me, quintillions. Sextillion, septillion, octillion. So 754 octillion. Come on, bruh. Like, get out of here, bruh. Now, I showed you that just to give you now this book right here. Let me go show you what I'm reading from, so you won't think that you won't think that I'm just reading from something. This is all calendar information. All right. This is actually someone's dissertation on this particular thing, and I'm going to show you what it is. Like, bro, y'all out of y'all league. Y'all out of y'all league. Y'all out of y'all league. Let me go all the way back. I'm not even going to read where they say they came from, because they depict it as a black watery place. All right. A catalog of Maya Erudite inscriptions. Carl D. Calloway. All right. So you can, from La Trobe University, where he's going into calendars and a whole bunch of stuff on the cosmology, on the origins, all of that, right? So let me come off of that. Now I'm going to read what I had up earlier. All right, where you at? Where you at? I don't want that. I want this. All right, let's go back. All right, so let's read. Let's read further. All right, so this is a depiction of the paddler gods from the Orion constellations. All right, and Linda Shaley, who is a Mayan epigraphical scholar, depicts these as the three firestones, which is the genesis of the cosmology of the paddler gods amongst these Aboriginals. But the creation day, yeah, what's the creation date for modern cosmology? All right. Some billion, right? Check this out. Look what they gave you. They gave you 41. The other one was 41 octillion. All right. The three firestones in the sky from the back of the turtle shell. And what Linda Shelley says this is that this is the belt of Orion. Now, what's interesting in astronomy is that the belt of Orion represents the equatorial 0 point, meaning like the equator of the sky. That's interesting. And I'm not going to elaborate on that right now, but that's really huge for understanding how smart these people were. Now, let me go to my other points so we can go to these pyramid points and then get out of here. All right, this job is taking a long time because I want to break down. Oh, let me do this. Ha. Come on. All right, there we go. I'll do this just for record's sake. Just for record's sake, right? I'll do this for record's sake. Let me make this smaller. Let's do this for record's sake, right? Check this out. I'll drop this on you. When the gods of the Egyptians wanted to depict their origin, what did they say? They called themselves Kinti Amintri. This is from the pyramid text. Why do they have this fascination with the West? Foremost of the Westerners, or pure Westerner. All right? That's the term that they use. But let me go here. All of the zoology, right? The zoology. Foremost of the Westerners. Can I get it? All right. The oldest fossils for a falcon, which is the symbol of Heru, is it in Africa or America? The oldest records of falcon fossils are in Idaho. Time period is the late Miocene, 10 million years ago in Idaho. All right? And there's your source. Now, not only does this stand for the falcon, right? It doesn't only stand for the falcon. It stands for a lot of the zoology. I ain't even gonna start on that. I'm gonna jump off of that. That's sidetracking me from my point. I'm just passing it. I'm passing it, so I don't want to. I just didn't want to skip that. All right, that's your God, Osiris, right? Saying he's foremost of the Westerners. All right, and even you say, "Oh, it's West." Well, West what? West Africa. The oldest Homo sapiens have been found in Morocco, according to that latest data, right? Y'all have to change your map every 3 days. All right, so look. Prime meridians. And I'm going to break this down to you as much as I can so you can get it. All right, so the prime meridian right now is in Greenwich, right? It's in London, right? Come on, show me this map. Open up, open up. All right, so this is what I'm going to break down to you so you can understand it. All right? So you can understand. When these layouts were made, right? When these layouts were made, of pyramids, they were made based on stars, bro. Like, you just can't get around it. So let me show you. This is Teotihuacan, right? This is Teotihuacan, right? You got the pyramid of Quetzalcoatl, you got the pyramid, the sun pyramid, and you got the moon pyramid. This is the Giza Plateau, all right? You got the Great Pyramid, you got Chephren, and you got Marcinius, all right? And those were, of course, the Greek names. But look, what did I just show you? What did I just show you? Pay attention to what I just showed you. When you look at Orion, everybody knows who studies a little bit of pyramid lore knows that these pyramids are aligned to the belt of Orion, right? These pyramids over on the other side of the Atlantic are aligned the same way, right? Right? Okay, let me go further. Let me show you. These pyramids, go back. These pyramids are in America. These pyramids are in Egypt. Who was studying Orion? And why do you study Orion? You study Orion because it shows you the 0 point or the celestial equator. So you can find the equator on the Earth, right? And you can measure the distance from the equator to the northern pole, bruh. Now, who was it that had a whole cosmology based on Orion? The Egyptians had it, and the She had it. Whose is older? America. There is no creation date based on the Orion 3 Firestone paddler ancestors going back 41 octillion years in Egypt, bruh. Like, sit your ass down. It doesn't exist. So now when you start getting into mathematics, longitude, latitude, astronomy, I'm telling you why civilization studied astronomy. Astronomy is the creator's handiwork. This is going to deal with you black power atheists, right? Because now you have a designer of a universe that endowed the original human with the ability to observe so that they can map out an existence for themselves using creation. Bro, that is beautiful. That makes you want to get down and prostrate to an intelligence that is magnified in us as the supreme beings on this orb. That's a blessing. You ought to be thankful. What if the sky had no goddamn stars for you to calculate nothing? And your hungry ass had to grovel around, not know no directions or anything. So this is why indigenous people were never atheists. They recognized that an intelligent force and power that they were directly connected to, and in further studies, an embodiment of in the most non-spooky way that you can do it. Deal with it. They understood that. Right? But I'm telling you, Egypt got its design from America. And I'm going to go further to prove it. Like, I'm about to prove it. I'm showing you the stars now. Look, that's Orion's belt. I already showed you the 3 firestones from the glyphs from the Americas, right? I already showed you that. Now, let me show you this. Let me show you this. So now they need to know where the equator is, so they use Orion, because Orion is the 0 point. If you look up at the sky is like a place where you can map. You can find out where the equator is on the Earth by looking at Orion's belt. Anybody who's an astronomer knows this. So let's go. This is stuff I don't even talk about to people because y'all too dumb. All right. So here we go. Equator. All right. This is a pyramid in Bolivia. Look. So when I show these images, I know what I'm showing, man. Shut up. I'm showing these images of black people with locks. Then I'm showing these images of black people with locks. Then I'm showing these people. Oldest, later, most recent. Why am I showing it? I'm showing it because I'm trying to teach you something, right? The same place where you find those stones with locks, you're down here in Tiahuanaco. What were they doing down there? What were those black people doing down there? Mapping out longitude and latitude. So this is Tiahuanaco. This is the equator at that time. This is past 12,000 years ago. This is why I know this pyramid was built 12,000 prior to 12,000 years ago, because of its location. What's completely on the other side of this in 180-degree build on the same meridians? What's there? What's there? The Xi'an pyramid in China. The Xi, X-I''A''N. Now the Xi are in America. You find the Xi all the way on the other side. What were they doing? Mapping longitude and latitude. Then they could find the pole. Now look, when you use these two pyramids and you bring it around 180 degrees, you get the Ice Age pole, which is 17 degrees off from the current pole. It's 17 degrees off. So, I'm about to blow your mind now. I'm just starting, about to blow your mind. Let's go to it. All right? Let's go to it. This is China Xi'an pyramid that I just showed. All right? All of these were built distances from each other for a reason. All right? Let's go back. Let's go back. You ain't gonna get away. Let's go back here. So now this is your current prime meridian. This is your one that started 12,000 years ago, right? The Great Pyramid became the prime meridian 12,000 years ago, and on and off. It was the people who built Tamari who made this the prime meridian. Once the civilization fell, it did not become the prime meridian again until Muslims went back in here to make it the prime meridian. So now, where are y'all dumbass African kings that y'all following that know nothing about Egypt? Oh, my tribe says they'll go back. And then you dissing the Muslims. The Muslims the only one got the goddamn knowledge. Why were Muslims smart enough to make the Great Pyramid and Cairo the prime meridian again when it was only indigenous Egyptians who did it? Nobody else came along and said, it wasn't no people in Nigeria say, oh, let's go make the, come on, man, y'all better stop playing. Okay, so prior to that, this was the last time we had a prime meridian, right here. So we can calculate that the Great Pyramid, not the smaller ones that they wrote documents saying they built, All right. And I put inside of my book from Ahmose the First, when he talked about the destruction of those pyramids in a disaster. What's the name of the document? I want to mention it right now because it's in the document. I don't want to mess it up because then y'all be coming after me. All right. So check this out. What I'm doing right now is showing you, I'm just only showing you how smart black people are in the past, so with hopes that some of you dumb niggas now will be inspired to be smart like your ancestors. Right? So the Tempest Stele. The Tempest Stele from Ahmose the First shows the smaller pyramids surrounding the large pyramids being destroyed in a disaster, literally. And so when you read documents in Egypt about pyramids being built, it's those smaller pyramids. It's not these big ones. These big ones go back almost 48,000 years, bro. And the ones that were built before them are over here. How do we know? I just showed you. The prime meridian was different because the pole was different. We had a different North Pole. This is why the people over here were studying the magnetic field of trying to find the North Pole. They had all the records. So Cholula, right, which is 40 acres at its base. The pyramid over in Africa is 13. Yo, that's 3 times larger. So my point, when I made that point, is that Cholula was the oldest pyramid that we know. And it had to go back 50,000 years because, let's go, all these pyramids over here are aligned to this. All right, they're aligned to this old North Pole. Let me show you another diagram so you won't try to diss me on this. Let me show you this. Here we go. This will help you. This will help you. All right? This will help you. When you had this old pyramid right here, homie, when you had this old one right here, this is how you get an ice age. You don't get an ice age through the planet freezing. You get it through pole shift. You get it through polar shifting. You get it through shifts in the magnetic field. And this goes back and further into history to show you why you're getting these shifts, which I could do too. I got time. Check it out. Check it out. All right, so you got the U.S. The reason why there was a ice age here is because of the shift in the poles from this prior one to this one. This was the one from 12,000 years ago to about 50,000 years ago. All right. The reason why you get the shift and ice over here and people went further south, right? Migrations were further south when these disasters. See, these migrations happen because of bottlenecks. I mean, bottlenecks happen because of migrations happen because of bottlenecks. Bottlenecks happen because of things that are happening in the environment. Okay? And so when you come to Cholula, which is, over here, it was aligned to this pole. This is our current North Pole in Greenland. So the equator at this time ran through this whole area. Europe is damn near on the equator beyond 50,000 years ago. All right? So let me keep going. Let me keep going so I don't lose y'all. I don't want to lose y'all. I don't want to lose my family. They're going to say he talking over my head. Hold on. Hold on. Give me a minute. So look. Petroglyphs. Petroglyphs. All right? These are North American petroglyphs showing prehistoric animals carved by people. Just going through some of this. New Mexico. These animals lived. They died in catastrophes, homie. But that's not what I want to show you. This is what I want to show you. This is what I want to show you. It was no Pangea, homie. There was no Pangea. This is from the ecostones. I already proved that the conquest Spanish saw these stones. You know, people, oh, these stones are fake. Maybe they did fake some of them, some people later, but the original ones, they're not fake. So this is a map. North America, South America. What we are calling West Africa was different at that time. And the sunken continent. I already showed y'all, geologists have already verified the sunken continent in the Pacific. So let me go up a little bit so you can see a little bit better. All right, that's from the Cabrera Museum. All right, you can see this. Let me make it a little bit better. All right, let me change this. This will do it. All right, so this is the original. All right, and you can see where these two merge to make the continent that we know of as Africa today. All right, which is huge because when you look at genetic studies, East Africans, all right, have a very different gene structure than West Africans. All right, it has something to do with this geology. This is what it looks like now. Those two go together, of course. All right, North and South America. And so, what do I want to say about this? The cataclysms that occurred are the leading thing that gets you to understand population genetics, bottlenecks, and the history of our people. But beyond that, when I go back to the calendar system, which is what I wanted to do, that's where I was going at. All this stuff about longitude and latitude and pyramids and history and trying to find, trying to show you that the Americans, or what you're calling the Americans, had the lodestone compasses. They developed longitude and latitude. They understood prime meridian science. All of that is based on astronomy, homie. It's all based on astronomy. So let me go back to this point on astronomy. This file is like huge, so it's huge. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. Oh man, this one I want. There you go. All right, so the erection of the world tree. All right, and so we had these directions. All right, the east was called Likin and represented by the red. Each color means something. The west, Ik, and was represented by black, and each of these are elements too. Nahol, the south, represented by yellow, and Shaman, white, represented by north. This is what you call the erection of the world tree in the lore. All right. And so, how do I want to do this? I don't want to do this like that. Let me go back. All right. Let me go back. Let me go back. Let me go back. Do I want to do this? I'm trying to get to a point. I want to show this priest. But I want to do it in context. Can I do it in context? Yes, I can. All right. I just got to show the video. Bingo. All right. So let me go back to these feathered headdresses, right? These feathered headdresses, again, I have a diagram of this. I just got to think about what slide it's on or where it is. Where is this? I gotta come out of this because I gotta figure out where the slide is. Because I want to show the slides that pertain to the 7 Macau. And I think it's in another presentation. Ah. I think it's in another presentation. Yeah, it is. It's not here. Go. What I wanted to show was the astronomy part, the physical view of the astronomy, so you could get why they wore this, why they wore what they wore. Let me see. This is the last thing. It's almost 1 o'clock, man. I gotta get out of here for real. I've been going too long. All right, so look, this is the war bonnet thing and all of that. They don't know why these chiefs are wearing these feathered headdresses. I showed you the feathered headdresses from Verrazano. I showed you Hernando de Soto. Like, these weren't no war bonnets then. The headdress, the feathered headdress, is the Ahau's way of communicating his initiation. And I want to show you this. Wow, I got to open up some other files to show you. And these files are big. I don't think I can show that. Mention that. All right. I think I'm gonna have to either open this other file or just let it alone and come back on this because this is 1 o'clock. Do I have it here? Yeah. No, it's in here. File is so freaking big. Man. All right. So look. I think I can find it in this file. All right. So I'm not gonna find it in this file. I don't feel like digging. Don't feel like digging. All right. So look. Yo. So look, how long have I been going? I don't even know if I need to keep going. You know what I mean? I got books on all this stuff, right? And then as a matter of fact, let me just use the internet. Maybe I could do that because I don't want to pull these files up because these things are slowing my computer down. And I got a really big file. Like, these books are like 400 pages, 300 pages, and for some reason they just jacking me up right now. For some reason they're jacking me up. All right, so probably not gonna find it there. Where are those images? material are they in? Yeah, I'm not gonna find that. But look, it's pretty simple to understand. I'll come back. I do other lectures or whatever. I come back. Let's look at some questions. Ali, can you explain logistically, from an economic standpoint, how the reverse slave trade worked? When you say logistically, what are you saying? When the people were shipped back to Spain as commodities, what was their work like? I'm trying to figure out what you're trying to say. Because it wasn't like the third tier. It wasn't like the third tier. The purpose of taking slaves is to have free work and free labor. All right? That's the purpose. So the third tier saw an invasion of the islands and other places to increase the amount of slaves for working on those particular plantations. There were no plantations to work in Spain and other places. If that's what you're asking. All right. And let me say something to these people who are pro-African, who like to, they don't like to learn. You know what I mean? You don't like to learn. You are so prideful in what you're in that it's blinding you from the good of what you're in. Africa has like some of the greatest history on the planet, right? It has the greatest history. A part of why I go so hard against you is because you have a false pride in it, like it was the only thing going on in the planet in ancient times. And it's all due to your ignorance. It has nothing to do with what actually happened. You can't blame it on, the indigenous peoples of Africa. You can only blame it on your false dependency on a certain doctrine that manifested, which was a part of it, which was great and good, but another part which was a political ploy. And so Africa has great history, but how y'all deal with it is ignorant. You see what I'm saying? It's ignorant. And then culturally, I'm gonna say this over and over again. Like some of y'all Aboriginals, y'all trying so hard to be Indians that y'all look stupid. And then some of y'all Afrocentric people trying to be so African and Nigerian and other stuff, y'all look stupid, man. Y'all look stupid. We went through a loss of identity, bro. Like that's the reality. We went through a loss of identity in the sense of genocide. Like that's what's real. But since that time, we have become a great people. Like we don't have to be running around, jumping. We don't have to jump from continent to continent. The history is important, right? But we don't have to jump from continent to continent looking for an identity. Bro, we got an identity. We have an identity. Like, we look retarded the way that we're behaving. We've created things that have never been created before. Like, all this is emotional psychosis that we are allowing outsiders to make us feel, oh, if you can't prove your ancestry, then you're nothing. Right? So now we can prove our ancestry, right? We can prove it. And we have the opportunity. Check this out. We have the opportunity to be better than the mistakes of our ancestors. We got the opportunity. So our whole approach to this is like slaves, man. Like we have to get out of this mindset of approaching shit like slaves. And this is why, I don't care, y'all can hate me for saying this, bro. All men need specialized training that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave. It doesn't always guarantee it's going to wipe out the craziness, right? But it's a good start. That's a good start. Because, a lot of you just, they got too much estrogen. You got too much estrogen. DNA genetic test? That's such a variable. It could change from company to company and test to test and time to time. Sure, it's based on algorithms. Sure, it's based on calculated things. It's driven. Like, you have to look at the purpose of it. Think about your question first. This is why you got to learn the teachings. Think about the question. What is the benefit of the people who set it up? They didn't set it up because they are so concerned about people learning about their ancestry. Do you think that these people set these tests up because they're so concerned about learning about people's ancestry, bro? Read the fine print. What are they doing to your genes? Why are they interested in genetics? The sickest race on the earth is the most interested in genetics. So my point is, it's already been proven how they can be accurate and inaccurate. The problem is your perception of the history and geography. You overlaying the test on a false geography, false migration patterns, false histories. Let's think about it. People enslave you, take your identity, then they offer you the test to give you identity back. I'm done, man. I can't keep talking in this vein. I can't keep talking. Yo. Yeah, I don't know what. Yeah, he was trying to bully me. I didn't even see the chat, so I don't know. How was he trying to bully me? Yo, listen. Y'all. See, y'all asking the wrong questions, bruh. Y'all asking the wrong questions. He asked me. They asked me. Do I know what the? You tell me what you tell the world what you want to be. Self identity is based on you. All right, it's based on you. I'm using the term Aboriginal to cover a global concept for a people who are tied to the land. That's what I'm using. All right. We have our own tribal structure. We have our own stuff, and there's other clans and tribes. All right. Yeah. I'm not, I could answer all those questions, but it's go to Dr. Keith Ching to understand the difference between West African and East African genetics. Yeah. I do need to go to bed. Right. So at the end of this, you have to have a plan as a people. Every other people have a plan, and you can't develop a plan based on the things that these African American leaders have been giving you. You need more information. All right. Somebody's asking, is the layout of Poverty Point in the shape of a falcon, and who built it? I have pictures of it, and some people have said that it's in the shape of a falcon. But Poverty Point was built by these same sheep. They built mounds and structures all over North America. Yo, you see, you asking a silly question. Yo, the slave trade was not in reverse. The slave trade started in reverse. You got to go back and look at the lecture. You got to go back and look at the lecture. Yeah. Yeah, y'all are missing the point. See, when you come with a false premise and then you working out of that false premise to ask your question, you know, it don't work like that. Right. I'll be doing our lectures at our Aboriginal Summit. I'll put that in the chat. Y'all want to go support something? Support this. Aboriginalsummit.org. Come to our event in Atlanta. It's in 2 weeks. I'm not sure if we're gonna live stream it. We'll try to set it up. I'm doing all those things, you know. Oh, this stuff costs money, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Y'all be wanting all this stuff, you know, immaculately done and presented. You know, I didn't come up with an estate inheritance, a trust fund. You know what I mean? Like, yo, we grinding. Like, we grinding. I'm not saying I can't do a live stream, but you know, I didn't budget that. But we might be able to slide it in. Yo. Yo, I don't be traveling to do lectures like that, bro. Like, we got online now. Like, I'm not going to be getting on a flight, traveling 3 hours to go talk to 100 people, 200 people. You know what I mean? Like, this is, let me explain something to you. I gotta explain this. This is why y'all need a plan. And some of the stuff I don't be talking about in the public. Like, you need local jurisdictions. You need a local IPA, Indigenous Political Authority. You need a local ARNA jurisdiction. And you need those 12 departments. Like, us going across the world and doing lectures and leaving our families and our children, yo, that day is over. It's an outdated paradigm, bro. It's outdated. You should have a local structure inside of your local jurisdiction so we can disseminate information. We gotta be like the human body. Y'all operate like viruses. Let me say that again so y'all get it. Y'all operate like viruses, operate like a cellular network. A cellular network is not taking liver cells and sending them all the way to the brain to deliver information. That's not happening. It sets up a neurological system, an endocrine system, blood, which is information, right? Lymph, which is a different type of information, and it passes it to all the cells and to all the local organs and tissues. We have to become more intelligent in our design if we want to defeat our enemies. Right? We can't. A virus is the only thing that travels back and forth throughout system because it's a free radical. It has no home, right? And so lecturers traveling all over the country to do lectures to small groups of people and not networking those people together under a jurisdiction is a waste of time and energy. Right? It's a waste of time and energy. We have to learn how to set things up based on natural law and just quit saying it. Oh yeah, practice universal and natural law. No, you don't. If you want to set up a jurisdiction, how would you set it up like a human body and not a cancerous entity? And so all of the stuff that you hear me talking about, like I'm not gonna go. It's no reason. We have a local jurisdiction in California. Y'all could be listening to Brother Ansar and all the other people who are there because they have the information, you know. And then we can do hangouts or whatever, think tanks, which we already have set up. That's the kind of stuff that I'll do. I'll do that. We have an ABO convention. ABO convention, right here. Aboriginal Summit.org. See, what y'all don't understand is this right here. This event is the 9th Aboriginal Summit. Y'all late. Y'all thinking this Abo movement just started or something, like, bruh. We've been here. That's why it's popular now, because the information been disseminating for years and years and years. All right. So look, I'm gonna sign out for y'all. Thank y'all tonight. I appreciate y'all spending some time with me. We went in as far as we could, right? And we went from 9:30 to 10:30, 11:30, 12:30. Yeah, we went in. We went almost 4 hours. All right. But know this: the slave trade started in reverse. It was Negroes being taken from America back to Europe. The second phase was the plan on how they were going to destabilize these Aboriginal populations that they were discovering. They were interfacing, trading, they were deploying the people. And that right there took over 300 years of planning. The last phase is the West African slave trade. Those are the 3 phases. And so, to the little leprechaun who went all over Sign Other Network and other networks trying to denigrate, all I'm going to say is, bruh, your little leprechaun arms are too short to slack box with God. I'm going to say it again. Your little green Jamaican leprechaun arms are too short to slap box with God. Take that old, played out, outdated information that you're dealing with and flush that shit down the toilet. Right? And all I'm saying is, man, like let us be who we want to be. Let us study the information we want to study. And that's it. All right. I'm done. Amen. Peace.